All right, I think we're live. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. If anyone in chat can hear me, just push one. All right, we got a confirmation in the chat. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is an addendum on Black economics, looking for the one-on-one with a subscriber. We'll give him about 10 minutes. If he doesn't show up in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then we will wrap this up and call it a night. So Richard Victor Dixon asked a question. I doubt he shows up. Why does he want to debate anyway? He has a disagreement on Black people going to Africa. So I wanted to make this public so that this wasn't a back and forth between emails. I wanted everybody to put it on public record so that everybody could actually witness the commentary. Because when I tell people that I get emails personally from people, this is an example, and I just want people to understand that I don't make up things. These are things that actually happen in real time.
So wait, that's what's going on here?
Yeah. So I get quite a few emails every now and then, and this one I was kind of blown away by the amount of content that was in it, and I said, "Look, let's set up a one-on-one," and he decided, yeah, he would do it. So,
okay. And for the record, I'm just here to observe. In the meantime, I just might actually go live and do a cooking live stream. So for those of you who are interested, if we don't have anyone show up here, head on over to my channel.
Yeah, I'll give him to
So what was his main points, though?
that Africa was not viable for African Americans. and that America was a more viable place.
And that America was a more viable place?
Because it's a first world power versus Africa being a third world power.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm not presupposing anything. We never argued that point. Or, well, okay. Let me not say we. You never argued that point.
Right. Well, what's happening here is that the poverty that they're seeing in Africa is saying, and he provided links, but the links are outdated. When those articles were written, they didn't even have a railroad system in place. Today they have a mass transit and railroad system in place. Back then they didn't have solar farms and wind turbines. Now today they have wind turbines.
So are all of his articles like pre-Chinese investment?
It's during Chinese investment, but what he's paying attention to is the mass poverty. Well, you have poverty in the United States was my response. So what I'm saying here is that we can't let Skid Row determine whether or not you live in California. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, oh, okay. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to get too deep into it because you're actually supposed to be having this discussion with him. So, okay.
Let me
Beer?
All right.
So another one of those guys, huh, Mike? The Africa's not viable move, huh?
Every now and then.
Yeah.
They don't like you though.
They don't like you though. We should have it. We should make that a hashtag. Mm-hmm. They don't like you though.
Make a T-shirt out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe a puppet.
Mike, he's here.
I will mute up. Folks, we're gonna have to reschedule the cooking live stream another time.
Why?
Because I was gonna actually cook while I was gonna listen to this, but I could put it off for another time or something.
Mm-hmm.
Cook later. Because I'm the goat.
We'll see if he gets on the panel.
Ty said he's gonna have to sit this one out.
Wait, who's here? Hold on.
I was just messing with Ty City.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not trying to have like a bunch of like dead air or anything. There he is. Oh, wait, there he is. Okay, if you want to schedule, I'm cool with that because I'm also a little late. Mike, you want to reply to that? He's in the chat. Okay, did Mike step away?
No, I'm here.
Oh, no, yeah, Ray, he said if you want to reschedule, I'm cool with that because it is are you going to read the info I provided and then discuss the issues from there? Okay, Mike, that's not, yeah, he's asking you.
No, I want you to come on and explain your position rather than for me to read all the information. I mean, you provided the opposition, so it's incumbent upon you to provide that information so that everyone else can see.
Or at least like, position it, so we can kind of understand your position. That's all.
Yeah, we have other live streams that need to be scheduled, and we can't just keep rescheduling live streams because you're tired.
It's been a crazy day.
What, all the SYSBM shenanigans?
No, not really. Just
Oh, okay. Okay, like
Just-
actual shit.
wheelchair stuff,
Oh. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, I would, okay, so, okay, I would rather he actually come on. I would rather like hear his position from him. Thai City, why do you, SYSB1? Oh God.
No, you brought all these articles, so why don't you come onto the panel? That was the whole purpose of us scheduling this. Why would I do that?
Why are you changing it up now?
No,
wow.
You forcing us to read?
He wants you to read, Mike.
he sent a long email with all these articles supporting his position. And what he's saying is you read other articles and discussed them like that.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
And why are
Mike.
you changing up now? No, the whole purpose of scheduling the live stream was for you to come onto the panel, not
Okay, listen, folks. All right, look, let me explain how this works here. Okay, look. Yes, we're studious. We read. We're fucking lames. All right, yeah, we get it. That doesn't mean that it's incumbent upon us to read every fucking thing. All right, like you can come up here and then you can do some reading too, and then explain your position based off of the information that you provided to us. You can read it to us just like how we read it to you. This is a two-way street here. Like, come on. I think I'm really starting to kind of get a little short with this whole thing of like, well, read the article I sent you. Like, well, how about you come onto the fucking live stream and read it yourself, dude? We put the goddamn link in there.
Well, he's been very respectful so far.
Well, I mean, but dude, what I'm saying here, Mike, is that, dude, how long have we been saying this is a decentralized platform? I mean, you can come. There's no anything. It's like I really kind of don't like this notion here that the onus is incumbent upon you, Mike, or you, Nagone, or whoever, right, to prove me wrong. And it's just kind of okay, we do this every goddamn day, so bare minimum, why don't you bring your sources of information onto the panel and have the discussion? Like meet us halfway.
I don't think he's trolling, Dr. Phoenix. I think he seems to be pretty serious based on how the length of that email.
Okay. I would say if he was serious, he'd come onto the goddamn panel and have a discussion about it. That's just me though.
Yeah, I don't like to reveal people's emails unless. Yeah, but the whole purpose of us scheduling this live stream is so that you can come onto the panel, not so that we can read your articles. That's not how we do things here.
I mean, really?
You can't hide behind articles and then not say anything. That's not how this works. Because if that was the case, we could have went and got the articles ourselves. That's not how we
And I could be doing a cooking live stream right now.
Well, You said you could read it without showing the email address. It doesn't.
Mike,
Yeah.
hold on. Because I read that. He
Is
said
this
you
guy
guys use
is he refusing to step up because
what?
he wants us to
Go
read
ahead,
the
go ahead.
articles, or he doesn't want to
The
debate the points? I'm not quite understanding.
the problem is that if you don't come up here and actually read the article and discuss it, we don't understand the context.
Right.
We don't understand the context in which you're actually countering what Mike is saying. So this is why it's a bit disingenuous to just throw an article at, and just say, well, read that. And it's like, okay, I read it. And what's your position based on this, though? I'm missing the context, the contextual part of this.
Yeah.
So that's what we're asking for here. I'm not even trying to be an asshole, dude. Like, just,
Is he willing to come forward, or he just doesn't want to do it? Because if he doesn't want to do it, let's just close this thing down and just keep it moving. It sounds like he just is not ready to make. He doesn't want to step up to the plate and defend it, or speak about it, or debate the issue intelligently. If he doesn't want to do that, I understand it. I can understand that. We just got to kind of keep it moving.
Was he just adding his contribution, or he really wanted to discuss his opposition of the articles? Or
Kels,
That's a good question.
Basically.
But even if you do fire the articles off, they're not. There has to be a personal perspective on it. What's the personal perspective? It doesn't make sense because we can read the same articles. I mean, but that's not our perspective. Then it doesn't make any sense to the audience.
Right. I was just saying that because the way that he's commenting in the chat is as if he's contributing material.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, okay. I don't know about the email exchange between he and Mike. So.
Oh, so call in. So let me give him the call-in number.
Okay. And dude, again, I'm not even trying to be a dick, but let's understand each other here.
Yeah, but they don't like you over there, though.
They don't like you, though.
No, they don't like you, though.
They don't like you, though.
They want you to read them articles, though.
Oh, shit.
Read, nigga.
Oh, damn. Read, nigga. Oh, damn.
Yeah, sure.
I'm reading. Goddamn.
Well, he's gonna call in, so let's wait for him to call in.
Okay. Oh, man.
He did say yes to me, though. So maybe I was going in the right direction.
What do you mean?
With what he's trying to do. I don't think it's a debate. I think it's his contribution to.
I mean, I guess just the whole thing here is that we wouldn't really know that unless he kind of came up.
Yeah, but if your contribution is in opposition to what we're saying, there has to be some form of context coming from the opposition itself. You can't just send an article and then run away and then say, well, what about this?
Read that.
Yeah. No, that, I mean,
read that.
Yeah, he said you
read that though.
But read that. but read that though. Read that.
Oh God.
Read that though. And then he takes off. All right. I heard that.
That's what we were supposed to do.
Read that though. So all right. Anyway.
Well, I'm about to get my goat on right now.
right. Let me see if there's anybody calling in. Nope.
Must be a long number to dial.
I think sometimes when you ask for the web ID, some people get lost in that.
Cocaine Kells, how you doing, though?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing fine. Fine. Complex.
The meeting ID is in the chat itself. The meeting ID is 418-371-881.
Where they at though?
I don't know, but I'm gonna find out. Complex, what you cooking, though?
Oh man, I'm rinsing off some salmon right now. I'm gonna saute some green beans and make some rosemary rice.
All right.
Yeah, easiest way to make some salmon, folks, if you guys are listening here. Marinate it in low sodium soy sauce, then blot it dry. Do that for about 30 minutes to an hour. Blot it dry, rub it in olive oil, cracked pepper, rosemary on top, boil that bitch for 30 minutes. Jesus Christ, that's great. Don't say I never gave you anything.
Ty City says, come on, I could be trolling Taz right now.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
Said, what is the participant ID?
Wait, when you call, because I had to call him before. Participant ID.
You don't need a participant ID. The participant ID is the webinar ID.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you have to actually enter it.
Wow.
Oh, here he is.
All right, let me mute up.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, brother. Can you hear me?
Okay, cool. Let me bring up what's happening. I hadn't done this before. Let me mute my computer so I can speak. What's up, man?
I'm chilling, brother. What's going on with you?
It's all good.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just getting in, so I'm just trying. It was not that, man. So, what is the So the article you didn't want to go over it. You wanted me to read it, or what's the deal? What's the deal?
I wanted you to explain the position because the article.
Well, okay, can you put? Let me YouTube. Yeah, because I don't want to get the background on that. Let's see what's happening. You can still hear me, okay?
I can hear you.
Yeah, because I'm on the. Let me see if I can put on speaker. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Now, what's the position that you were saying that you talked the other night? You were discussing whether or not Black Americans were going to be able to participate in the first industrial or the fourth industrial revolution. Is that correct? And from the bent or the leaning of, go for it.
No, so I'm just sharing my screen so that people understand what you sent.
Okay. And you hear me okay?
Yes.
So what you were saying, from the bent of what you were saying, from my perspective, how I received it, you were saying that Black Americans basically were getting left behind in the fourth industrial revolution.
Yes.
And I'm asserting that Black Americans are the only groups of Blacks in the world who have access to the resources to, as far as being in a first world country with all the wards that we may have, do we have access to the resources to build within the fourth industrial revolution? And Africa does not. Let me give you my 5 positions as to the reasons why Africa is not ready to compete in the fourth industrial revolution. Sub-Saharan African nations are not equipped to transition to a fourth industrial revolution economy for several reasons. 1, lack of reliable and consistent electric power generation. 2, lack of information and communication technology infrastructure. 3, lack of manufacturing infrastructure, since less than 2% of global manufacturing is produced in Africa. 4, low literacy rates and poor education systems from primary school through the university levels. And 5, corrupt, dysfunctional management of their governments and natural resources. And that's the basis of the positions that I wanted to discuss on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the articles that you sent are actually kind of dated in relevance to today's discussion. When you sent those articles, when those articles were written, they did not encompass a lot of the fiber optic communication cables that are being laid right now, as opposed to when the article was written. They did not have a transcontinental railroad system or a continental railroad system set up. Now today they have it.
They do not have a transcontinental railroad system. They have railroad systems in different countries, but not a there's yet to be a transcontinental. Even when they have the West Africa trading agreement, they do not have the transportation road system or railroad system to trade with each other. That's why I put in the information by Ali Mufaruqi, who is the CEO of Infotech Investment Group. He is one who funds billions of dollars to the East Africa Federation, the governments. He meets with heads of states, and he was the one that discussed that as well. And he's Tanzanian. He's Black. He's worth over $100 million. He is well educated, and he is on the ground doing the work. And he is the one that is asserting that with the low literacy rates, the lack of infrastructure, that is why the Africa Rising myth is, that's not too dated. 5 years is not dated. They have not turned, it takes a long time to turn things around. And just having China build some railroads for you at exorbitant debt rates, and to still, and also the shoddy work that China is doing throughout Africa. Angola is complaining right now about the broken infrastructure and the buildings that they have done. And Japan just built a major bridge in Kenya, talking about they only build high quality work. So my curiosity is that Black Americans, I'll take our Black colleges, engineering programs, computer science programs, and our Black ROTC programs, and those would be viable avenues for us to develop more than the very, very limited resources of the university systems, because most Africans don't even have a high school diploma. You're maybe judging people based on the small percentage of Africans that come here who would be the academic all-stars. If you got if you were the top in your village and you got someone to sell some land to send you to go to school in the United States, you're the top of your class. But Africa, and I'm saying, and I'm a person that loves Africa, I'm not saying this to hurt anybody's feelings. What I'm saying, we need to really be concentrating on building up Black America and the resources that we have here.
So how would you go about building up Black America?
Okay. The article that I sent you about the importance of Black Americans, when I said that Black American, historically Black colleges and universities for Black men, and joining those ROTC programs, Recruiting Officers Training Corps, So what we're dealing with right now is a underdevelopment because of the broken family structure in America for a number of reasons. However, we do have people, we do have institutions that are allowing us to successfully overcome that. So if we have these Black boys, they're coming out of some of these schools, which are not the best schools, but even with their low reading levels, their reading levels are superior to the typical African student on the continent, not the superstar here. So what we have is the ability to use places like Alabama A&M, which is we're near the Redstone Arsenal, which is a major investment of $50 billion by the U.S. government for the fourth industrial revolution. We take these young men, send them to safe, supportive academic environments like the historically Black colleges, also require them to enroll in recruiting officers training corps for the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard. Mm-hmm. And once they have those two foundations, they may have to go to the military to assert and develop themselves, because the military has been the most successful track of Black men developing their best selves. The military has outperformed all other institutions in American society, helping Black men realize their personal excellence. Mm-hmm. And that's we are 30% of the United States Army, 10% of the Army's officers' corps. Mm-hmm. So the United States military has more management professionals than any other institution in American society. And the military is the one that drives all these technology advances. And so that's why I'm saying that if we look at Nigeria's military, highly dysfunctional, highly corrupt, not able to develop the things that they need, still not, when Nigeria and when all of West Africa, and I'm not saying this to sound hard on people, in the 1960s, when before the late 1950s, early 60s, before the independence wave, Africa, unfortunately, under the colonialists, had surpluses of food, a very safe and growing economy. You have people here now who are elders in their 70s who are regretting that they went independent because it's been a massive failure. And so I'm not understanding this attack on Black Americans about being the least able to realize the fourth industrial revolution when we are the most well-equipped Blacks globally to utilize our political clout, whatever that may be, which is stronger than most Africans throughout the continent and most Black people throughout the world, to utilize the resources of being a part of a first world country, being an integral part of the military, and fighting for the things that we have fought for to be a part of this. So I'm not understanding why this was this almost bashing of Black Americans, saying that Black Americans are not equipped or not winning or are prepared to succeed, when Africa is already the global permanent underclass.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a sufficient plan. Only problem is you have massive literacy rates in this country for Black boys. We know that Black women have the highest enrollment rates in universities and colleges across this country. However, the literacy rates for Black boys are so far down to third world level. If you're just
not true in the United States, not true when you're talking about third world levels, you're talking about places like Africa, and I'll have to defer to Ali Faruqi, who is the CEO of Infotech Investment Group, when saying literacy is 3% and throughout the African continent. Now, we have some reading problems and we have some problems with graduations, but the rates of Black men and Black women in college is not as desperate as people have been unfortunately portraying. The point is the literacy rates, if you think that Black men and boys here don't have the ability or don't have the skills that they need, in Africa, that's not the case. They don't have any chance of it. That's why they're easily being manipulated by China. They're still under great neocolonialism by France, Britain, the Dutch, the Germans. And so this romanticism that Africa is ahead of Black Americans is false. And the brother Moses showed that in his debate where he just blew Mr. Fantastic out of the water. Black Americans, with all of our awards.
So
hold on.
You've been talking for a minute.
Okay, go for it, bro. Go for it.
Where are the examples of these startups here in America for the fourth industrialization by Black people?
Well, okay, we always have to have the foundation, right? Because we don't want to talk about, you made an article, a hit piece of a young boy who was, 12 years old, and he unlocked his sister's phone, and then you call that being a robotics engineer. I got 13 years old that can unlock phones, but they're not, I don't call them robotics engineers.
You're misquoting my points. He said himself in the article, or they called him a robotics engineer. He quoted that himself.
Okay, but he's not a robotics engineer. What country is he from again? What country is he from? I'm rolling with you right now, my brother. What country is he from?
Whoa.
Okay.
Fall back. You're on our panel.
Okay.
You're a guest here.
Okay.
We allowed you.
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
Just talk over me.
Complex is on the background.
Give me 1 second.
Okay, go for it. Oh, okay. I didn't know this. See, I was on a different page. I didn't know you had put that up, but go for it.
Yeah. So to answer your point, to answer your question, I didn't make him out to be a robotics engineer. The article said that. I'm just quoting the article. That's all I'm doing. So when you say that I'm slandering ADOS, I'm not slandering ADOS. We've gone over the numbers. We had a Black healthcare talk Saturday looking at the numbers for Black nurses in America, declining. This is coming from a medical professional himself who's on our panel.
Black scientists in Africa. I hear you, my brother. There are Black scientists make up 1% of Africa. They're so far behind, my brother. And this is not somebody trying to be mean.
No, you're jumping ahead. We're talking about ADOS, right? We're focusing on ADOS.
Okay. We're focusing on ADOS.
Right. We're talking about the startups. We covered an article last night that depicted over 800 of these incubators and startups inside the continent. We don't have anything remotely close.
Where inside who's financing them and what? I mean, because those hit pieces which do not have reputable. Go for it, my brother.
Hold on. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
It doesn't matter who's financing them. The fact that they exist is what matters. If you're comparing ADOS to that, show me the equivalent of ADOS. Show that equivalent first, and then you can make that comparison. But you're not making that comparison. You're just saying somebody else is financing it.
No. Let's go back to the basics. You said let's go back to the basics.
Mike, can I just say one thing? I just need to get one thing out here. Okay, one thing. Do not ask us for where are they. Okay, every last source that we report on is in the dockets, in the videos.
Okay, but I'm saying
they're there. We're not pulling the shit out.
But I'm saying you're saying 800, and you didn't give me any definition of these 800s or what they're doing. There's allegedly these startups.
Brother, let me pull up the article.
Okay, but let me go back over the foundation of this once again.
Okay.
Sub-Saharan African nations are not equipped to transition to a fourth industrial revolution economy. One, because of lack of reliable and consistent electric power generation. Mm-hmm. Two, lack of information and communication technology infrastructure. Three, lack of manufacturing infrastructure. Mm-hmm. Four, low literacy rates and poor educational systems from primary school levels through university levels. And five, corrupt, dysfunctional management of governments and natural resources. That's the foundation. That's why they're not responding. A lot of this romanticism, and I sent you the articles on this romanticism that they are ahead of Black Americans. It's just not, it's patently not true.
If you have to show the equivalency of what we're
you have not proven to me that these startups let's see that information, that these startups we're not talking about, they can't even get clean water for themselves. Nigeria, hold on, my
Okay,
brother, hold on.
that's pretty disingenuous to say.
It's not disingenuous. It's
No,
not
it is.
disingenuous.
It is because that's
very real. That's very real, my brother.
That's to suggest there's no modernization on the continent nowhere. That's pretty disingenuous.
I didn't say that.
No. That's what that statement implies. That's what it implies.
That they don't have clean water. They don't have clean water in Flint.
Come on, dude.
Well, let's break this down.
Right,
The state of Texas has 28 million people.
Okay.
Nigeria is the same size as the state of Texas and has 200 million people.
Okay.
The state of Texas GDP is 1.8 trillion. The GDP for Nigeria is 375 billion. Okay, how are you doing all these great and grand things when there's a great overpopulation, there has a broken infrastructure, electric power generation has to be the foundation for any type of serious move toward the fourth industrial revolution. They haven't even moved toward the second industrial revolution throughout Africa.
I'm trying to figure out here, when you came in on a discussion where we didn't talk about fourth industrialization on the continent in reference to infrastructure. Please enlighten me when
you're not going to have any fourth industrialization in Africa without an infrastructure.
It's already
without an electric power system.
It's already happening, brother.
This so-called happening.
If you were going to apply fourth industrial based technologies to a developing nation, where would you start? Just curious.
Oh, all right.
But I don't understand that question, and I don't understand where you're leading on that.
Because your presumption here is that the discussion basically skips over critical components like electricity and running water and shit like that. Well, then
school systems and educational literacy. You're challenging whether Black Americans are educationally capable of doing this.
Oh, no.
Africans are 10 times to 100 times worse off.
Would you like to compare apples to oranges? Because see, what you're talking about is Black Americans are more equipped to do this. Okay, you're in a first world environment. How are you capitalizing on it? I can look at what's being capitalized on in a third world environment and
brothers
show
in the United States military are outperforming brothers in all other sectors.
Oh, okay.
And I gave you an avenue.
Well, hold on one second. You say that as if there aren't military brothers, ex-military brothers that are actually a part of the brain trust here. Matter of fact,
I'm not asking you for a micro analysis. I'm giving you a macro analysis. You asked me for some avenues.
I'm giving you an even more.
The point of the matter is, you're telling us. You sounded like, and I'm not saying that was the intention, that you were just bashing Black Americans as though Black Americans were incapable of being a part of the fourth industrial revolution. And I'm saying that Black Americans are the only group globally that are in position to make use of it.
Where are the examples?
By the time Africa does its so-called miracle rise, the fourth industrialization will be going into the fifth.
Well, I think you're applying. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Take Africa off the table for a second. Examples in Chicago, Baltimore, New York. Show me those examples.
Show me those examples in Nigeria where they don't have schools with running. No. We're talking on. Show me the examples when you have schools that don't have running water, where girls can't go to school when they're on their period, and they don't have bathrooms for girls separate from boys, and that most of the children don't even get a basic education. Let's break that down if you want to talk about Baltimore.
Wow.
Excuse me. Can I say something?
Yes.
I'm going to ask him just one question.
Your position is to
hold on, Mike.
Show me the examples,
Mike,
of this fourth industrialization happening with Black Americans.
Mike. Can I just ask him one thing? Go
ahead. He's from Africa. He can tell you.
Have you visited the continent at all? Have you visited Nigeria?
Yes, I've been to Ghana. I've been to Nigeria. I've been to South Africa, Botswana, and Ethiopia.
Where in Nigeria have you gone to where you say there's no?
I've gone to Lagos and Abuja.
You go to Lagos.
In Ghana, I went to Kumasi, Accra.
Okay. You went to
I mean,
Lagos.
y'all.
No,
Okay, yeah,
I'm
Hey, man,
asking.
look.
No,
Go
I'm
for it.
asking. You went to Lagos and Abuja, and you said you have girls and you have people no running water. And where in Lagos did you go to? There's no running water.
Have you seen Lagos Lagoon, my brother?
I live in Lagos. I've lived in Lagos for years.
Wait. When President Trump talked about the stench, when you get off of Motorola Mohammed Airport, you can smell things that Trump talked about. And I'm not trying to agree with him on that. This romanticism that Africans are flourishing and they don't even have an infrastructure to provide for their own people. How are you going to? Say that again.
I lived in Lagos for years. I was born there. Where in Lagos did you go to? Ikeja?
I mean, I was working for Chevron at the time, man. The point is that wait, hold on. The point is, hold on. The point is you made assumptions that you don't even can back up. Where in Lagos did you see so you're saying that there are not street children throughout Lagos, that you have a population of 20 million people that you can't provide for, but you're going to jump into the fourth.
I'm going to mute everybody. Brother, you come on this panel and you're not answering questions. He asked you specifically, where exactly in Lagos did you go where there was no running water? You're not answering the question. I asked you several questions. You're here to defend ADOS. Show me the examples of the fourth industrialization happening in ADOS right now, or whatever hashtag you want to go by. That's what we're asking you. You're dodging the questions because you don't have the answers. And much like the rest of these characters on YouTube, they don't have the answers either. Tell all them cats, come to the Black Brain Trust, and we'll school every single last one of these niggas. None of these niggas have answers. That's why they're coming here and antagonizing us in the chat, on the panel. No facts, nothing, zero. Now I'm going to unmute you. If I unmute you, you better have some answers for this brother he is asking you. Making me raise my voice, man.
It's the least you can do,
brother, man. I'm not here to go over the. We stayed at the Intercontinental, man. We did projects for Chevron. The point is, I'm saying is this: these people who are talking. I mean, you're saying I'm not a quote pro ADOS, pro that. I'm just a Black American who is thankful for the opportunities that we have here. But for y'all to trash Black Americans and say that Black Americans are missing out on the fourth industrial revolution, and you're saying that Africans are surpassing that, how is that true?
That's not, you're getting it totally wrong. First of all,
how did I get it? How did I get it wrong?
Well, let's start first of all that I am a Black American, right? So I'm not trashing.
Okay.
I'm not trashing myself.
Okay.
So you got it wrong there. Let's start there. Okay. Then the next part here is we talk about the continent from an investment opportunity and infrastructure opportunity. Okay. I think you have it off. Okay. Because that's not where we're coming from here. Okay, so when we talk about first of all, you do realize that you can fit 3 United States within the continent, right? You see, so there's just a whole lot more opportunity. There's a lot more trajectory for growth in a country that's relegated largely as a third world country that has a shit ton of resources versus a first world country that's largely fully developed and has a 5G infrastructure rolling out right now as we speak. You see, so the thing about it is this. When I look at the first world conditions that we have here and the rollout of 5G and the things like automation and all that, you tell me, where's ADOS at with regards to the tech environment here in the United States? In a first world environment, don't give me a bunch of supposes and what ifs. I would believe you if I actually saw it right here and now. But if you're going to ask me, if you're going to ask me, if you're going to ask me, but if you're going to ask me what makes, you're going to ask me, but if you're going to ask me,
you got Robert Smith who has the Vista partner.
Dude, you're doing this whole shit where you're going to point to one guy. I almost thought you were going to actually.
Y'all point to Dan Goatee. You point to one guy out of 200 million Nigerians.
Wait, hold on. Since when did we do that? What again?
But you're
I would
saying,
invite you.
okay,
I would
now you're
invite you.
positioning.
When
You're
when you
saying now
make those
that you're
kind of
changing
points,
it to
when
that
you make
that
when you
Africa
make
is a
those,
better
when you
long-term investment
when
prospect.
you first of all, when you make those kind of assertions right there, you need to go and find the source and bring it to the table. Prove it.
Okay.
Prove that we said that shit.
You're saying that Africa is a better long-term financial investment, but they don't have the same type of private investment rules and laws to protect interests. But the world, hold on, my brother. Hold on, my brother. Hold on, my brother.
Well, I'm not holding on, but you got it
sovereign.
wrong.
Hold on, my brother. The sovereign wealth funds are investing in the United States at $267 billion a year. These are the people that have this type of capital. If the United States was falling apart, that's the most of investment anywhere in the world. But now, if you're saying that you were asserting that we're not in the fourth industrial revolution insofar as developing startups and investment capital, then that's a different position than I
No,
stated.
it's not a different position. That's the position we've always maintained. See, so when you come over
that's
here,
not what I heard. What I heard,
we ain't about to walk that back. We're not about to walk this shit back. Oh hell no, no.
Wait, Complex. I'm not walking anything back, brother. I'm coming straight forward to you. Because when I came on with it real. When you talked about, you didn't assert that on that thing about, oh, this is investment opportunity. You were saying that Black people were getting left behind and they were not capable of getting into the fourth industrial revolution. And you were telling about some kid who unlocked the smartphone and he was a robotics engineer, which had no correlation.
What are you talking about?
What? I'm on mute, dude.
Can I just say
hold on a second, Engineer Canvas. Did you read the article?
Yeah, I got the article. I think I can still find it. But you were saying that this guy who unmuted. Am I still on, man?
Yes,
can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Yeah, you were saying this kid who unlocked the cell phone was a robotics. Most 12-year-olds can unlock a cell phone. They can program a cell phone better than a lot of adults.
That's not what the article was about.
But I don't call them robotics engineers.
The article, that's not what the article was about. You didn't read the article. You didn't read it. If you read the article, it said it started off. He started off as a child unlocking the phone, and then he moved on to
Is he in the engineering program right now anywhere? I thought you said he was 13 years old.
He's 15
Is he in the engineering program somewhere?
He's 15 now. He's 15
Is he in a university level engineering program?
Mike, I'm just going to say something.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
This is it. I don't usually jump on this kind of conversation, but for this, I'm just going to say this. The opportunity is everywhere. Africa, here, everywhere. The goal of this channel on everything is not to say where the goal is to basically to show the opportunities are available. The opportunities, we need to take those opportunities.
The opportunities to do what? The opportunities to do what? You're going to give up the United States to go to Africa and do what?
Opportunities. That's it.
The opportunities to do what?
Shine the light on the opportunity so we can take part of it. That's it.
So I mean, okay. If that's what you were saying, that's not the way it came out.
That's what I say.
No, it doesn't matter how
cannabis industry. That's what I bring.
You're saying this 15-year-old self-taught engineer. Where is he? When did he acquire an engineering degree?
Why are we hedging this on one single example of 150?
What I heard, I'm saying it's complex. What I heard is that you guys seem to be saying that Black Americans were not capable of being a part of the fourth industrial revolution. Look at this 15-year-old in Senegal. He unlocked a smartphone and he is a self-taught, quote, engineer.
Okay, I have a.
You say that
Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Industrial revolution. I mean,
say it again, Nagone. What up, Nagone?
I'm laughing because this is pretty funny.
What up, Nagone? You know me, man. What's up?
What's going on, Ray? What's going on, Ray? What's going on, baby? What's going on? I'm
good. So what's happening?
All right, man. Good, man. We kind of go a ways back. I, as far as the whole article, what was being said here, the articles more or less spoke on this kid being, moving towards this engineering type of background by, first of all, stepping out, doing what he was doing with this phone. But I think the bigger piece that we're talking about here, as far as the fourth industrial revolution, is African Americans need to get further engaged. We need to move deeper and more aggressively into this area. Not that we don't have the capability of doing such. We're not doing such at the rate that we.
I agree that on that article piece, I think I did write in the solution was for us to send out these kids, these boys, to historically Black colleges, engineering and computer science programs, and jointly enroll them into ROTC so that they'd have a guaranteed job, but they can work in technology and learn it in a secure environment. I think on one of the live streams, I did note that. My position is, I noticed that on one of the articles or with that
I just want to finish. And then what we're saying is, well, if we're getting heavily involved in this, we're not getting involved in the level of startups and so forth, of which we're actually taking kind of ownership of a lot of this technology.
So what's the number? What's the population of sub-Saharan Africa right now, Mike?
Just let me finish. Okay. So this is something that we are that we're currently not doing. So and then when we want to back this up, let's back it up with how many startups do we see happening here? How deeply how quickly are we moving into this? How many people do we have involved, and so forth? So we see the numbers are very, 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 very low.
The population of Africa is it nearing a billion? Is it nearing a billion?
Let me finish, brother.
And you tell me about 800 startups.
Ray. Let me finish. But on the other hand, my man Complex over here came over and showed you we're in Rwanda. We're also, they're developing their own cell phones, and there are a lot of startups that are happening there and that are being funded by many different groups. Okay. But people are starting to get involved there. People getting involved in coding at earlier ages and so forth. These are the things that are happening in Africa. Does Africa have its challenges? We never said that it didn't. But what we are looking at is where there is growth, there's moving on the continent. More people are moving into the area, actually looking at this as far as being an area of further, not only brain trust, but of development, and that we as African Americans really should be definitely more on our game here, and also making links and connections across the continent as well to work there to totally enhance and ensconce ourselves in this fourth and fifth and sixth industrial revolution that's going to be that's rapidly emerging. I think that's more or less the key here. But as far as the numbers are concerned here in the United States, are we deeply ensconced in this game? Are we advancing in this area quickly? With respect to let's say some of the resources and some of the other things that we do have here in this country, we're not doing that. And I think that's kind of the key take-home message here is what it's.
I'm not here for no take-home messages, man. I'm not here for that.
Not take-home messages, but these are the facts. Anyway.
No. This brother is going after a 15-year-old about whether.
I'm not going after the 15-year-old. I was going after you more, Mike. I'm not going after no 15-year-old.
No. The article says this 15-year-old self-taught engineer is making robots out of his own bedroom in Senegal. I never said he was an engineer. The article said that.
Right.
You're coming after me about the article.
Okay. My apologies for coming after you. I felt you were coming after Black Americans for quote not being a part of the fourth industrial revolution.
And so what if I was? So what?
Okay, it's all good. But I'm pointing is that the resources available to us.
Let me just jump in real quick, okay. and let me just say this real quick, brother, because I'm just now coming in and kind of hearing what's going on. And I can say this first and foremost. I've been listening to these brothers for months now, months. They're probably even starting to get accustomed to my voice a little bit because I've actually been starting to call in. I've never one time heard these brothers down ADOS, FBA, whatever you want to call it, because the United States government, you're still one big nigga while everybody's going back and forth fighting. I've never heard them one time down ADOS or FBA saying that they are not capable of participating in the fourth industrial revolution. What these brothers have always done is put forth information and stress for us to get involved. And they've inspired me to do that. I'm getting my CompTIA A+ certification.
Okay.
I've incorporated what these brothers talked about on my YouTube channel so that I can pass it on to the brothers on there. And brothers are responding in the comment section of my video, telling me that they're getting their certifications and they're looking into what it takes to become, blockchain developers and things of that nature. So the information is spreading, but at the same time, what I don't like hearing, what it sounds like is coming out of your mouth, and I'm not trying to disrespect you or anything like that, but it sounds like a level of denialism where because I heard something similar of this nature come up not too long ago where there was somebody that hopped on this conversation and they said, "Oh, you guys sound like elitists," and that's not the case. And now once
That's
again,
not what I said, brother.
no, I know that's not. I didn't say that's what you said. I'm saying there was somebody else that came on here and said something of the nature of these brothers sound like they're elitist. And now I hear you coming on and you're saying, "Oh, you guys are saying that ADOS FBA can't do it." And that's not the case. That's never been the case. They've consistently provided
hearing you out on that. I'm hearing you out on that. Let me make my point as well. I'm hearing you out on that. What I'm saying that it sounds like y'all are in denial. A population with a 3% literacy rate is not going to be a part of any fourth industrial revolution.
I'm going to listen. Let me show you something real quick so that you understand what I'm about and how I get down. I don't play games here.
When you're saying a population with you're talking about the ADOS population.
That's the continent throughout sub-Saharan Africa. We're not talking about a small 1%. That's from Ali Mufariki, who is the CEO of Infotech Investment Group in Tanzania. He pulls together billions of dollars to build infrastructure for the East Africa Federation. He meets with heads of states.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that.
What are we talking about, Mike? What are we talking about then?
Your position.
What are we talking about?
Your position is that Africans aren't making it and that African Americans are better off in the United States with all of
I'm saying that.
All the first world power.
But Mike, how can a population with a 3% literacy rate compete in the fourth industrial revolution?
We just covered that last week.
So you're saying that 90%, you're saying that if you only have a 3% literacy rate, that Africans can participate in the fourth industrial revolution?
No. What I'm you're making an apples to orange comparison of what we're
okay. Well, break it down for me, Mike. Tell me what you're saying.
What I'm saying, I met with African members of parliament last year. We haven't uploaded it. We haven't uploaded that content. We haven't uploaded that content because I have to protect the people that are involved in this.
Okay.
Billions and billions of dollars on the table that we're talking about here. Contracts, fourth industrialization. Okay, this is happening right now. The conversation that we had, they would like to do business with ADOS, but ADOS isn't ready yet.
Wait, hold on, Mike.
So what you're saying is that you would not.
You're also saying this to a person whose business partner, who co-owns a trade group that does international business. My partner is African. He's Somali.
We just
imported
the Somalia look like it's Somalia doesn't even have a functional working government.
Listen.
What are you saying?
Working government.
Engineering cabinet is in the background.
Who's that?
Engineering cabinet.
Yeah.
Engineering's there. Well, it's funny that same type of Somalian that you're talking about is also an economics grad, an economics major from the University of Minnesota.
Well, you talked about individual. He's an individual, but you're saying that Somalia does not have a working government. They haven't for the last 20 years.
Where are you getting that 3% from?
Oh my!
The education.
Ali Mafaruqi, I sent it to Mike.
Have you gone to the World Health Organization or other reputable organization to tell you the literacy rate? It's not 3%. And one article or one person is not a reference. What is the literacy? What's the literacy rate in sub-Saharan Africa in your view?
Hold on a second.
Just referencing one article from one person. When there are organizations, World Health Organizations, they'll tell you it's more than 3%. So where are you getting your information from?
So what percentage? What
Go
percentage
to
is the living?
organizations like the World Health Organizations or other one and look at the research on it. Not just one person.
I hear you. I hear you. What, in your opinion, what is the
Go to
literacy
different
rate of
organizations.
sub-Saharan Africa?
Go to different organizations and go see the literacy rate.
You're
That will
missing,
tell you that. Not one person from one where he got it from, where you can't even reference where he got that information from.
Yeah, what he's saying is you can't use him as a source. You have to go to the international organizational body.
Okay. But what is
their information is wrong in comparison to what the international organizational body has. Now, I want to get to this real quick because King Sigma is he's getting real slick at the tongue, and I think he should get on the panel so he can get some of this work too. Because we've been doing this for too long.
We get work down there. We get work, Mike. We get work.
Hold on. Go through the archive. We've been doing.
You said we get that work, Mike. We get that work down. Right now. Go ahead.
It didn't work because you got to go through the archives. You can't just use this one article or one hangout to say you want to challenge something. No, I do Black Tech Talks 3 and 4 times a week. I don't question whether a person was born on a continent in the Caribbean or in America. I don't question that. We don't do
Mike,
that.
That's not our MO. See, the thing about it is this: so whatever it is you bring it to the table, man, it's got to be something that far surpasses.
Well, I presented it. You didn't want me to see it. You wanted me to read it. You didn't. I didn't see if y'all put it in it because I was on a different screen. But I presented my positions.
You presented your position, but your position is false, man.
And the thing about it is, and a lot of it is
based on accurate data. I will go by what the United States government says.
But it's also
if it's good enough for us to live here, if it's good enough for us to get these opportunities and to get this protection, then I can take their data as being accurate.
No. It's also based on presumptive assumptions that you have of our position. Because some of the stuff that you were saying, I'm like,
what are the things that I'm presuming about your positions, Complex?
What
are some of the things I'm presuming about your position?
Well, the fact of the matter is that we're making some sort of apples to apples comparison between a first world infrastructure like the United States and Africa. Our position is that is a developing nation, okay? And there's a lot of key players that are trying to have a hand in it. And we're saying, why shouldn't we be one of those players as ADOS? Like, what have you been listening to this whole time?
If you want to invest in that, I don't have an issue. We have the Overseas Private Investment Corporation for that. If you're going to get those types of resources and do that, you're welcome to do it. You can do it as in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. You can do it for the international U.S. International.
You can also do it for private industry. You can also do it for private firms.
That's private industry. The Overseas Private Investment Bank has capital available for American citizens.
I'm also talking about private corporations. That means companies that we all found and own ourselves. You see, there's a multitude of players that can have a hand in this. And see, I'm only representing but one constituency of that as an entrepreneur. You see, so when you come in and say what you're saying, I'm sitting here saying, like, you know what?
What is it that I'm saying?
You're saying, well, no, because we're actually trying to understand what you're saying. And that's the problem. So we're trying to get to the bottom of this.
I gave you my positions in the 5 reasons that Africa is not participating in the 4th Industrial Revolution.
And the determination that we've made here is that your position, based on our analysis of it, is completely incorrect, because you're coming at it from the standpoint of like just Africa as a whole. You see, there's regions, and we report on these various regions. We give you heat maps to let you know where fintech is popping, okay, versus where blockchain is popping, versus where manufacturing is popping.
So you're saying that blockchain, fintech,
these are all fourth industrial base
without electricity?
What?
When did you?
Okay, dude. All right.
Man, if you do not have electric power, what are you manufacturing?
Do you think any African nation doesn't have electric power?
I mean, when you talk, when President Obama put Power Africa together, the only 3 countries that have electric power over 30% would be Gabon, Botswana, and I think possibly South Africa, not even Nigeria has. Rolling blacks out are the standard. So I'm saying that you have,
Brother, I want to inform you that your information is a bit dated. The Russia-Africa
This
summit
is almost
happened in
offensive, man.
October.
And I'm a
Well, they're saying that after
the Russia-Africa summit that happened in October, Russia is going to provide natural gas energy as well as nuclear energy across the continent. That was in October. This is happening by 2022.
Russia has an economy the size of California, man.
Oh my God! What does that have to do with, what does that have to do with the energy?
They don't have.
What does that have to do with investments?
Yeah, what does that have to do with that?
California has an economy.
It's not a well-developed country itself. Russia would be considered a second world country.
California has an economy that ranks what, 5th or 6th within the
In the world, in the whole world.
In the world, yeah.
Okay. How
And
many nations are there in the world?
Yeah, I don't know, 150 something or whatever.
Yeah.
But the point is this. The point is this. Even in this World Economic Forum, it's saying that Africa is not going toward industrialization. It says innovation. So the point is you're cherry picking some information.
No, it says Africa's future is innovation rather than industrialization because the
how are you going to be a part of the fourth industrialization if you're not industrializing?
Do you know the biggest capital of Nigeria? The biggest capital Nigeria has is the human resource. The human resource are the biggest.
That's what I'm talking about. If you're not investing in education, you're not going to be a part of
human resource and human innovation.
I think that Nigeria is not even investing 3% of its budget in the education of its youth. We can look at that.
You say you've gone to Lagos and you've gone to Nigeria.
Where do we get that staff from?
Wait, hold on, brother. You're not going to railroad me like that. Hold on, my brother. You're not going to railroad me like that. The point is that when you have people that challenge this romanticism of Africa, there's all, and I'm not trying to make
your information from one article, from one source.
So, but I'm saying, wait.
Do you know?
What percentage of the Nigeria's budgets do they invest
where are you
in
getting
education?
This information from?
No. I'm asking you a question now. I am asking you a question.
Please
what percentage of its budget does the Nigerian government invest in education?
What, 15%, 20%?
It's not 15 to 20. It's in the single digits. It's in the single digits. I've seen several articles on that. But the point of this, you have 200 million people.
I'm going to ask you the same question. Do you know the percentage of investment in Netherlands to compare to the United States? The amount of.
So you said.
No, wait.
I'm not hearing you real well, brother. Speak up for me, please.
Okay, the amount of resources that America devotes to education compared to the number one most educated nation, Netherlands. Compared to them, how much? What percentage do you think is different? The difference is.
I'm not sure. And what point are you making?
So the point is, it's almost the same as Africa, and yet they still have the most educated people.
Well, what point are you making, brother? What is the same as Africa?
Netherlands devote the same amount of resources Africa does in their people, and they're the most educated people in the world. The Netherlands. Compared to America that has.
And you're saying that Nigeria is getting those type of results as the same as the Netherlands?
Have you gone to Nigeria itself?
We just covered it.
You know how many?
Hold on, engineer.
I'm saying these hit pieces that you're putting together, especially the ones that are coming out of Africa, sound more like propaganda than independent journalism.
You mean the hit pieces from Bloomberg? Those?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's this narrative to beat up on the United States as not legitimate, to continue to disrespect, although everybody's here getting benefits from the United States.
Nobody's beating up the United States. All we are saying is there are opportunities everywhere. We all need to get in front of those.
Okay, there are opportunities. Okay.
So that's it. I've never come to any channel or anything. I always say there are opportunities everywhere. We all need to get a grasp on these opportunities, and we all need to benefit from it. So I've never gone to any channel, and I always come here, and I'm the number one proposal of everybody get in the cannabis industry. and I've always been a proponent for that. And I've never.
I'm not too interested in the cannabis, but when I presented the position to Mike, it was not anything provocative. That's why I outlined it, and that's why I'm getting.
The way you're outlining, like Africa, you making Africa look like it's a deadbeat country.
I'm not making that.
And
I mean,
with no
the
president
of
Africa,
the president of Nigeria,
running water.
Everybody in
Africa,
Africa,
Nigeria had no running water.
everybody in Africa.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Everybody.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Water.
I did not say that.
They all still have. They all still have bones in their noses. I was saying
clean, drinkable water. There are shortages with that. They're not. No. And there's a difficulty of getting.
You said no drinkable water, and I asked you where.
No, I didn't say no drinkable water. I said that they're not having adequate drinkable water. There are shortages of a lot of things. Even you're importing 40% of your food, man. But the point is, you're trying to railroad it. Hold on. You're trying to railroad the facts by trying to say that.
You're bringing facts
hold on. You are trying to railroad the facts. Because you're saying that I'm saying things that are not favorable to Nigeria, and that's not the case. The point is, the facts are the facts.
Literacy rates. Where did you get that information from? 3%. Where in the world did you get that information?
This is all we're asking. Like where did that come
somebody's
from?
putting in the chat. I asked you what the literacy rate was, and you
you're the one who said it 3%.
But he said continent-wide.
So where in the world did you get 3%?
This is what we can.
Come up here with facts that aren't proven. Come with facts that are real. I mean, and disparage a whole nation, a whole continent.
Kai City, I never said that Africa is a country. I said that it was a continent.
3% literacy rate. Where did you get that from?
Like seriously, I said, look. If you're gonna come in, if you have information that you want to bring, then bring it and cite the sources. You can't just say shit like this. 3%.
I didn't say shit. I wrote it down. I put
you wrote it down. Can you post it in the?
You didn't even want to go over my position.
No, can you post the link now, please?
I did not come in here, and you changed position midstream. Now you're saying that you were talking about investment in the fourth industrial revolution, and you were saying that, and now you're saying you were not saying that blacks in America are getting left behind. Is that what not, Mike? Did you imply or say that blacks in America were getting left behind in the fourth industrial revolution?
Yes, in comparison to the continent.
In comparison, the continent is not even in, the masses of Africans are not in position to be a part of the fourth industrial revolution, even education-wise.
And I asked you, where do you get that information from?
3%. The point is that I get part of it from Ali Makaruki, but you're not even telling me what the percentage of literacy is in Nigeria.
Saying 3% literacy rate from where? You came with an arbitrary number.
What are you saying the literacy rate is?
60. Look at it. Even in the chats, you're saying 65%. So how does 3% and 65%?
That's a pretty high, man. That's a pretty big difference.
65% go hand in hand.
Because if you're from Nigeria, you know that less than 10% are high school graduates. Come on, man.
I'm asking the question.
Come on, man.
How does 3% and 65% go hand in hand?
That's a huge difference.
I'm saying that that's what the person who's the CEO of that corporation that finances that. But okay, we'll find out. So you're saying, but when I challenge you, Mike, you said that blacks were getting left behind and Africans are on the continent or ahead of blacks in the United States?
Let me read it. Because you're quoting me, but you're quoting me out of context. Let me read
it. Okay, well, read it in context then, Mike. Since you wouldn't read my article, go ahead and read it in context. Because you said that you did not want to read long articles at the beginning. You said that you read plenty of long articles, but go ahead and read this long article for us, please.
You're misquoting me. What we said was we can't just read the article without having the context behind it, behind your position. We have to have your perspective first. Now, I'm going to read this article. This is from September 1st, 2019. Africa's future is innovation rather than industrialization. Africa has taken 3 significant steps in recent months on its journey to a stronger economic future. In March, the African Union launched the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Pull it up as you go, Mike, if you don't mean. Mike, pull it down or bring it up as you go, please.
It is.
As you're reading it, can you scroll up and down?
Yeah, well, I'm reading the paragraph that's in context.
I mean, can you scroll it? Yeah, that's it. Cool.
Yeah. In March, in April, the South African government announced the launch of a new affiliate center of the World Economic Forum's Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution. Okay, keep that in mind. The center will act as a focal point for dialogue and cooperation on the challenges and opportunities presented by advanced technologies which are emerging our physical, digital, and biological worlds. These include a number of tools that combine will disrupt Africa's dominant agricultural, extractive, and manufacturing industries, offering the continent an unparalleled opportunity to transform and thrive. And the World Economic Forum has just launched the Africa Growth Platform, an initiative aimed at helping startup enterprises grow and compete internationally, with early stage entrepreneur activity 13% higher than the global average.
This is coming from the World Economic Forum, mind you.
Okay, go ahead and keep reading.
Africa is well placed to get startups off the ground, but it also has a higher than average failure rate due to insufficient support and infrastructure. The Africa Growth Platform will bring together governments, investors, businesses to help startups thrive and become sustainable. Now, when you say that I say, where are Africans leaving ADOS behind? Show me the equivalency in America for Black people.
Okay, when you're saying that these projects that are put together, right, and I'm seeing what you're saying on that, and you're saying that coming from a startup of what, when you're saying that from a startup people who are
in the background.
Are you there?
Yeah, we
can you hear me?
Talking.
Okay, so you're saying from people starting from like a zero-sum game, from an average of less than $1,000 a year income. Would that be accurate? And so you're saying that these things are going to put these together. There was a Deloitte article that you put together where the executives from South Africa, because the only country in Africa that they're saying that is positioned to be a part of the fourth industrial revolution is South Africa. The executives in that article you read said that they don't believe they're in position to do it.
I didn't bring that up.
Because I read that.
I didn't bring that up. That was King Sigma. We don't use Deloitte here.
Okay. You didn't use the Deloitte article. Okay. The white paper from Deloitte. Okay. Cool.
No.
So you're saying that Africa when 40 years will have 2.4 billion people. And there's projected, now this is when you guys are talking about the rise of Africa, to go from an average of $2 per day to $20 per day. And you're saying that is going to be wealth.
Relative to their environment, that would be. Now, you have to take into consideration the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement. That encompasses another precedent that's about to take place, which is a unified currency. This is going
okay, I hear you on that. That's in process. However, they don't have the transportation infrastructure to trade with each other.
That's taking place right now.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and go with Ali Faruqi, who said this. It's cheaper to bring copper from...
Mike, King Sigma's in the background.
I've let him
say that again.
He has to show his name. If he doesn't show his
name,
well,
I mean, it's cheaper to bring something from Africa to the U.S. than it is to Africa internally. So the point is, I hear where you're coming from, and these are nice ideals, but y'all are trying to say that this is the present reality, and that's not what the reality is now. These are projects, but right now, hold on, Complex.
It's Mike.
South Africa's economy is shrinking. It's possible that South Africa will be on the brink of civil war in the next 5 years. So how are you going to do all of these things?
Based on your economic premises? Based on what? How do you know that? Do you have a predictive analysis?
Right now, there is But hold on,
You
there's a
keep
great
bringing
deal
up
of.
facts that you
Hold on,
referencing
man.
one person.
Mr. Nigeria, hold on. There's a
No, I'm
great
not.
deal of
Whoa,
ethnic.
whoa, 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 whoa,
Hold on,
whoa.
man.
Come on,
There's
man.
a great
I'm
deal of
done.
ethnic.
We ain't
There's a
doing that
great
here,
deal
man.
of ethnic
I didn't come here to
tribal
say Mr.
fighting in
Nigeria. I'm
South
here to
Africa
present
right now,
facts.
man.
No. Wait, hold on. But check this out here, bro. Like, we ain't doing that. All right? We ain't doing
I
that
didn't
shit.
call names in here. I
Yeah,
never
that's what I
called
mean. We ain't doing
anybody
that shit, dude.
names.
We ain't doing that here.
That's a very
Right?
that's a very racist.
Well, you want to do that shit?
I'm not
take that
saying
shit.
I'm not saying anything racist. I'm just saying that
I
there's a
didn't
lot
call
of.
you names.
No. He
tell
didn't call you Mr. America, dude. So don't call him Mr.
Okay.
Nigeria. We ain't doing that shit here,
Tell me
man.
your name, bro. Tell me your name, bro.
Engineering cannabis.
Tell me your name. The brother from Nigeria. Tell me your name.
I thought you engineering cannabis. If you use my
Oh, you're
username-
engineering cannabis?
That's
okay,
him.
cool.
Yeah,
all right,
that's
engineering
it.
cannabis.
Let's roll with
I'm
that,
saying
bro.
that I apologize if it sounded like I was trying to be,
You were
untoward.
trying to be
But there's a
divisive. I
great
don't
deal
know
of
why,
ethnic
but
strife in South Africa right now. So South
how do you know
Africa
it's
is
gone
on the
into war in
verge
5
of civil
years?
war. Even in Nigeria, the Igbos
Where
have
in
threatened
Nigeria
to
do
do
you see
another
civil war?
civil war.
Where?
The
Please
brother
tell me
is in
where.
the
Between
UK.
who? Between who?
Come on, man.
Between who? The civil war between who? Remember, I'm a
The brother
Nigerian.
who's the descendant
Between
of the
who?
Igbos is in the brother who's a descendant. I have to get his name of the Igbos. Is
I'm an
feeling that
Igbo
the
man.
Nigerian
So
government
please,
is
there's no
not
civil war there. Please
investing
tell me.
enough in
There isn't any
Southeast
civil war.
Nigeria.
I'm an Igbo man. There isn't any civil war. So you just missed it. You just missed.
I'm not saying that there is. There's a
But
great
you're
deal.
you're making so much assumptions that don't make sense.
Okay, cannabis. There is a great deal of ethnic tension even in Nigeria. The Igbos feel that they're being taken
I've lived
advantage
in
of.
Nigeria, but where is the
I
tension where
understand
civil war is going to
that
come
the
in?
brother who is an Igbo in London has asked for a separate state.
You keep referencing sources that I can see or feel or look
Okay,
at.
it doesn't matter.
Hold on.
Cannabis, may I ask, what is your ethnic group?
I'm an Igbo.
You're an Igbo? What's the name of that brother in London who's calling for a separate state? You know who I'm talking about.
Man, that's like
What's the name of the brother who's organized an Igbo he's doing a referendum for an Igbo state? Come on, man, stop playing games.
Making any kind of assumptions, please read.
Man, look,
what's going
I'm
on
not
down
making
there.
it. This is in. If you don't believe the
making up some
BBC, that's
stuff
fine.
that
But
doesn't.
there is a great deal of ethnic tension throughout most countries in Africa. So that's going to be a prohibitor. That's going to be a problem that has to be overcome.
But where? How?
Say that again.
You're throwing so much assumptions. You're throwing so much assumptions without backing.
That is not an assumption. And I'm surprised that you're not telling the truth, Cannabis, because you know the brothers in London, and this has been going on for about the last 10 years. The Igbos have been calling for a separate state again, and the general who lost the war is telling them not to do it. Come on, man. There's a lot of
where's the civil war coming from?
Okay, man. I've already made my statement on that.
No, you made a statement, but a statement is not fact. A statement has to be backed by data and truth, and that's fact. But you're not.
So you're saying you're Igbo in the last 10 years. You have not heard about Igbos requesting a separate state.
Since you've been in this panel, you've been making so much assumptions, and each one I've been saying you have no backing, and you're just using one source, one reference. That reference, if you dig into it, has no source into it too. So tell me, where are you getting your information from? You are trying. That's the problem.
Yeah,
you come here.
So,
and you bring information that has
the
no
point I'm
merit.
making, engineering cannabis. The point that I'm making is, when you have that amount of ethnic strife, that's going to be another barrier for Africa to move into the fourth industrial revolution. That's all I'm saying.
Question is,
I mean, it's funny. It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. But when I look at the microcosm that is Black YouTube, right? I don't see the diametric opposite to what you're telling me that
let me tell you why,
it's all
because
amongst Africa. You know what I actually see here in this first world first industrialized society that you live in, that you have all these opportunities that you can leverage. Pure fucking dysfunction amongst Black folks. So get off your fucking high horse, dude. Really.
I'm not on the high horse on that complex. Let me break this down, man. The point of all I'm saying is that although you're saying we're separate, most Black Americans have very similar, we speak the same language. Most of us have the same faith. We have personally the same, very similar heritage if we've been here since the 1860s. There are a great diversity of ethnic groups fighting for power and resources in a lot of these countries. And so that's going to be it's not the same. It's not the same.
That's disingenuous.
It's not the same. It's not the same as somebody from South Carolina that's a Democrat, different from a Democrat in New York. It's not the same.
No. That's like saying because people are shooting each other in Chicago that therefore we have a civil war about to break out and we can't actually, harness
Not the same thing, man. It's not the same thing. You have people. So y'all were just talking about how great Rwanda is, right?
Let me finish reading this article.
Okay, go. Okay, because you talking about Chicago and the Civil War. Rwandans, the Tutsis and the Hutus.
I think your microphone.
Okay, well, go ahead, and finish the points. Go ahead.
You finish reading this article.
Wait, can you add King Sigma before you start?
Yeah, let me. Okay.
Sorry.
Digital revolution. Africa has definitely grasped the promise of the fourth industrial revolution. More than 400 tech hubs have sprung up across the continent, with Lagos, Nigeria, Nairobi, Kenya, Cape Town, South Africa, emerging as internationally recognized technology centers. These cities now host thousands of startups, along with the incubators, accelerators, innovation hubs, maker spaces, technology parks, and co-working spaces that support them. Here is a map that identifies all of the tech startups inside the continent that focus on fourth industrial revolution.
Okay. So now look how, let me, okay, Mike, on that paragraph, let's go on to something. Because you know how when you lead on a lot of these do-gooder liberals, they're saying Africa has definitely grasped the promise. This is not instituting any actual foundations. I mean, the funding of this has to be a part of it, the actual training of people. You were talking about how these guys, go ahead.
No, what I'm saying, show me the equivalency in Black America.
Where your Black
when I talked about Robert Johnson, Robert Smith, y'all said that was one person. When I talked about the brother who has worldwide technology, I said it's one person. We participate in whatever
he runs a hedge fund.
Hold on. As first world citizens, hold on, Complex. As first world citizens, as American citizens, we participate in the incubators that are here. We participate in the resources that are here. So we would be a part of what's happening in America at a small percentage, but that 442 tech hubs, how are they going to maintain these tech hubs without manageable, consistent electricity? How
would they be able to open it if they didn't have electricity?
I mean, Mike,
I'm just asking you, man, rolling blackouts. You got what, 3% of the world's 2% of manufacturing out of Africa? Come on, man.
That's gonna explode in the next 10 years. We already know China.
That would be nice. It would be nice.
Yeah, we've covered. If you go through our archive, we have over 400 episodes that we've covered on the continent and Black America.
Let me ask you this, Mike. I think there's a big difference, Mike. Why? And let me ask you a question, Mike. Why do you believe that? Why do you believe that for Africa? Why do you believe that Africa is going to outperform the United States?
Because all technology is moving east. It's not moving west.
Not only that, the markets are shifting east too.
Yes, all technology.
But Africa. What about Africa? We're not talking about Asia. You're talking about a country with almost. Wait. Hold on. You're talking about one country with a $20 trillion economy, and you're talking about a billion people that And I'm not trying to sound hard, that are impoverished.
Well, so how are you saying Africa is not a country?
I said a continent. I said a complex. Don't play me, man. Complex. Do not play. Don't play me, man. Don't play me. The continent is impoverished. Most of the people. Most of it. I mean, you got Dangote. He got some paper.
Wait.
But are you sharing in that?
What did you say?
Are you sharing in that Dangote lifestyle?
What did you say the
cannabis?
GDP was? What did you say the GDP was?
The GDP
For the United States?
No.
I think it's about 19 trillion.
No.
GDP for the United States is about 21.
No.
21.
I'm referencing. Well, see, because this is why I'm seeking clarity, because he said a country. I said no, it's a continent. Now, if we're going to talk about GDP, then you're going to talk about the individual GDP of all the nations within said continent, and we're not going to sit up here and say, well, the GDP of Africa is this. And
what is the combined GDP of all the nations?
No.
Throughout
What
the
I was doing was clarifying.
No, I understand you clarifying. Give me that and compare that to the United States.
No. I'm not giving you a goddamn thing. What I'm saying here is this. Understand.
Well, you don't have to.
If you're gonna reference
I was
GDP,
making a reference that the
reference
United
GDP
States
to an individual
economy alone
within the
is
continent
more
of
than
Africa.
likely higher than the combined economies of the continent.
Likely. Wait. Again,
I mean, I'm asking you. You're the one that's saying it.
You're talking about the United States as a country versus a country within Africa. Because again, Africa is a continent; it's not a country.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
So what country within Africa are you comparing the GDP of the United States to? Just curious.
No. I was comparing the GDP of the United States to the entire combined nations of Africa. That's how powerful the United States is.
No. When you combine the GDP, okay, in reference to what exactly?
It's a viewpoint contest. Okay, you
understand. No. What I'm saying is, what is the hold on. I'm really trying to follow here, because if we're looking at hold on, because see, let's roll on that premise here. Because see, I'm asking these questions to seek clarification. Now, let's roll on that premise then. If we're going to be talking about future growth, who's charted for more growth? The United States or Africa? You tell me.
Okay. The people who are poorest will have greater growth than the people who are rich.
No. What I said was based on growth trajectory. That means being able to actualize the resources under the ground, the intellectual property of the people, and various other mechanisms. When you add it all together. Oh, really? When you can fit 3 United States in the size of a continent that is Africa, and Africa Africa largely has untapped resources.
So you guys called me up here, and I've been kind of waiting.
That's cool, but let me finish my point that I'm addressing to him, because see, he made an erroneous assessment here.
I didn't hear an erroneous assessment.
I did. Well, what I did because
everybody in the chat heard it.
Okay,
right.
Okay. So you guys.
What I'm saying is, you have to clarify when we speak on having interest in Africa.
Okay.
It has to do with the fact that is the future. See, so if we're going to be talking about GDP, well,
maybe.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on. Wait, you can't step in here and then tell me what my point is, bro. Fall back.
I didn't say what your point was.
You're saying no. You're saying maybe. That's not what I'm trying to.
But I didn't say what your point. I just said maybe. That's all I said.
I'm trying to address somebody else, bro. So I'm just saying, hold on 1 second, because the point I'm trying to address is the point that he made, not yours. So, in reference to what he's talking about, okay, he's making the assumption that our position is current modern day investment opportunity, as in, like, I put $1,000 in today, I get $1,200 back at the end of the month. That's not the position that we're talking about here. When we're talking about fourth industrialization, we're literally talking about the build out of infrastructure. That's our position. That's always been our position. And I dare any goddamn body to challenge that shit. Now, King Sigma, speak up.
Are you getting Cali gangster complex? Cocaine said you get ready to get Cali gangster. Is that what that is right now?
It is what it is. I don't know. Go ahead,
King Sigma. Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. I guess I'll just respond to what you guys were just talking about. But Mike called me up here, so apparently something I said in the chat that he wanted to discuss. So we'll get to that. But in regards to what Ray is saying, I mean, he's telling the truth. When you look at the GDP of all the 54.
What does that have to do with anything, King Sigma? What does that have to do with anything that he's talking about?
He was just talking about the GDP of Africa versus the United States. What do you mean?
You
What is
can't
that?
compare. You cannot compare the continent to the United States.
Are you gonna let me talk, or are you gonna just cut me off? Because you didn't even let me finish.
I'm clarifying the position.
How can I get to the point if you're cutting me off?
No, because his position is that he's comparing.
His position is that the United States GDP dwarfs the entire GDP of all 54 nations in Africa.
It's a first world country. It's supposed to.
That's supposed to.
But
it's not benefiting black.
Okay.
It's not benefiting.
What do you mean it's not benefiting? What do you mean it's not benefiting? All the black Americans that you're talking about, most of them are employed, so they're benefiting from being in a first world country.
Let me pull up this map again so everybody can understand.
So to the audience,
Yo,
Ray Alexander was 100% correct. The GDP of the entire 54 nations of Africa is like 2.5 trillion, whereas in America,
wait, hold on. Who the fuck said it wasn't? Who said that? Who said that? Who the fuck said that, dude?
I'm giving the information
No.
that was asked to Ray Alexander.
Wait. I said, oh my
We
God.
never said that. Hold on a second, Complex.
No one ever said that.
No one ever argued that.
What are you coming in on, dude? What are you coming in on?
I'm coming in on the part where Ray Alexander was talking about the
No, you supposed to be
cutting me off, bro?
Because, bro, you're making.
Are you gonna let me talk, or are you just gonna cut me off?
No. The question is, okay, fine.
Damn.
No,
There's no damn. You came in on some bullshit, dude. No one said that.
Hey, calm down. Let's calm down.
Bro, you know what?
One at a time.
You let me know when you're ready for me to talk.
Talk. Go ahead, talk.
No.
I'm gonna ask you a question because you talk, then I'll ask a question. Is that good?
Okay. And I came on because Ray was talking about the GDP, and someone said they needed to hear the exact numbers. That's what we said. Okay. The exact numbers, because you said Africa's not a country.
No, okay, you said you're right. Okay, fine.
Okay, so what I was coming on to say is that Ray was right when he was talking about the GDP of the United States as an entire nation versus all the collective of all 54 countries.
Who said he was wrong?
No one said he was wrong.
My question is, since we're talking about GDP, what are the variables that affect GDP? What are the variables that affect GDP? Since we're talking about GDP.
The size of your economy, the amount of exchange.
What are the variables? There's import, export.
Right? Imports, exports, the innovation.
No. Import and export, right? So you compare import and export of one country to the import and export of how many countries in the continent?
54.
So what are they importing and exporting different goods and services in those 54 countries?
They're importing and exporting a whole lot.
Different? Are they importing different goods and services? Yes or no?
Yes, they are.
And you're comparing it to the importation and exportation of one country. Do you see the?
Well, we were talking. Wait. When I was in the chat, I thought the conversation.
You have to come. If you're coming here to talk of GDP, you have to go in depth. So let's go in depth.
So let's go in depth. So
the GDP, that's import and export, right? Right? Import and export, right?
I'm still here, man. Engineering cannabis, you're just disrupting the conversation. Let the brother go ahead and make his point. You're just disrupting, man. Your disruption does not change the fact.
Hold on a second. When you cannot compare the two. You cannot compare the two. It's an apples to orange comparison, and it's filibustering because it has nothing to do with what we originally were talking about. Now, the objective of this discussion was to talk about whether or not the continent of Africa or the people within the continent are doing better than ADOS. We have to stick to that point. Talking about the GDP doesn't make any sense. You're comparing the first world country to a developing continent. That doesn't make any sense. That's a stupid comparison. Compare the original points that was made. I just laid out, let me unmute everybody. I just laid out the article from the World Economic Forum that came out September 2019.
Wow.
I just laid that out.
Okay.
And what Ray is saying is that they don't have clean running water and that they're not investing into their education, but the article says otherwise. How can you even argue
It does not say. It does not say otherwise. Anything about any education, Mike.
Ray, can I just say something real quick?
Mike, it does not say the investment amount in education in Africa.
That has nothing to do with what we were originally
You
talking
just
about.
got to saying that.
Hold on,
You
hold
just got
on,
to saying that.
Hold on. Can I let me get some clarification. So, okay, so you say we can't compare the United States to nations in Africa, but yet you're comparing the Black American population to those in Africa.
No, relative to what people are doing per capita, they are doing twice as much. The article,
We're still outperforming them per capita, Mike.
So
we are outperforming them per capita.
What are you talking
Black
about?
Americans.
No, not.
So show.
Yes, we are.
If you let me talk, okay, let me throw some information at you then.
Show the examples of tech startup.
So 40. Hold on. When you look at the nation, the 1.2 billion people across the 54 nations of Africa,
right.
41% of the population of the 54 nations is in third world poverty, not second world, not first world. They're in third world poverty. Now you're gonna compare. You're sitting up here talking about apples and oranges, bro. You're comparing 40 million people to 1.2 billion.
What's the percentage of people living in poverty in the United States? Hold on. No, because if we're gonna,
why do you keep cutting me off before I can finish my point?
Finish your point.
You said you're talking about apples and oranges.
Finish your point, dude. Finish your point.
You're comparing a population of 40 million people in a first world superpower to 1.2 billion people across 54 nations.
Well, first you're making the assumption that all those people are Black, just like you just made the assumption here that you're only talking about. You said 1.2 billion, so not everybody.
I didn't say anything about the color of the.
You mentioned the only 40 million. You only mentioned 40 million Black. You only mentioned 40 Black million people in America, and then you mentioned 1.2.
Stop filibustering.
Oh no, I'm just trying to get clarity. I'm just trying to get clarity.
No. What you're doing? You're
40 million Black folks.
You're straw manning. You're straw manning.
Get the hell out of here, dude.
You just no one. I said you're comparing the population of 40 million.
You're comparing them. I'm trying to clarify your comparison, bro. You're comparing them. Make no mistake about this. Make no mistake about it. You're comparing them.
The Black American population is 40 million deep in the United
States.
States.
That's what you said. That's what you said.
But that's a fact.
And you said how in the Black population in Africa is what?
I didn't say. I never qualified it with Black. I said
you said okay. So 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion people, and are they all Black?
Of the continent of Africa is 1.2 billion.
Are they all Black?
And almost half of them are in abject third world poverty.
Right.
So you're comparing a small 40 million population to 1.2 billion.
You just did.
Bro,
not me.
You're the ones that are comparing Africa to Black Americans. What are you talking about?
No, we're not comparing it. That's why you.
No, we're not.
Hold on, Complex. That's why you need.
You just got through saying, Mike, that the per capita that Africans on the continent were doing better than Black Americans.
Exactly. That's what I'm referring to.
No, you didn't let me finish. That's the point that I'm making. You didn't let me finish.
Okay, finish, Mike.
Relative to fourth industrialization, they are ahead. Show me the
No. You're not going to have 1.2 billion people with that lack of economic development ahead of a well-off group of 40 million in a first world country.
Show me in Black America where you have these tech startups happening in Black communities.
In a first world country, mind you.
In a first world country, show it.
Where are they?
Americans are spread across all kinds.
No. You
don't get to.
And also, Mike, you said that I use one source. Let's get some multiple sources from you.
This is an independent. I mean, this is a.
No, man. You said I use one source. You said I use Ali Faruqi. I use one source. Let's see some other sources, please.
Well, wait. In reference to what we're talking about here, because where I'm trying, all you need to do is show me the money. Where's the money being ported to the Black tech sector in the United States versus in Africa, which is what we've covered. All you got to do is show me the money, fam.
Where's it at though? Show me the money.
Where's it at though?
Complex. Show me the money in Africa, Complex. From that, what you
we've been covering it. No. Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go back in our archives.
Gangster with
no. You're gonna go back in our archives and you're gonna listen because we've already talked about
Complex,
it. Now, what I need you to do. I need you to show me where the Black tech funding is at. I need you to show me that here in the United States. Where's the black tech?
Complex, I told you that we are.
Is the black tech sector centered in Harlem? Is it in Miami? Is it in Houston, Atlanta, LA? Where the fuck is it? Where's the
Complex. We are American citizens first. We share in the resources of the United States. That's all I'm going to say.
And what that tells me is that you ain't really been listening to what we've been talking about.
Yeah, I can point out Chinatowns, right?
Yep, you sure can.
What
about Little Tokyo? What about Little Tokyo,
Mike? You talking about getting off subject. What does Chinatown have to do with what we're talking about now?
Because those are concentrated centers of where an ethnic group is. Where are the tech startups in Black America? That's been the question since the beginning of the live stream. And now neither you.
So you're saying these 400? Hold on, Mike. You're saying that these 442 tech startups for 1.2 billion people in Africa is saying that they are outshining Black Americans.
Wait. Hold on, Mike. Wait. Are you telling me? Are you honestly telling me, right, that there is an actual need for the sheer amount of barbershops that we have, but you can't speak to the lack of tech startups here?
Oh, I can speak to that. I can speak to that. I would say that in regards.
Well, so can we, and that's what we're pointing out here, King Sigma.
Yeah, and you won't get it.
But you're saying that without having reliable electricity, that they got all these tech startups coming through.
But when you talk about the overall condition, yeah, I would definitely say that Native Black Americans are way better off. But in terms of like being behind in the fourth industrial age, it's no argument there. I won't argue with that. But what I will say is,
I don't know. I think that's what you came in arguing, though.
No, that's not what I came in arguing. What I came in to say is that Black Americans.
Sure sounded like it to me.
I'm saying that this is romanticizing Africa off of a report from the World Economic Forum, and that's not what's happening on the ground.
I wanted to just add this in, Ray, because here's the thing. Here's the thing that you got to understand. When you look at the situation, Black Americans are here in the United States. This is still one of the greatest places for like research, development, innovation, universities. The problem with Black Americans that they faced over the last 60 years is that they misallocated their human resources into a dying industry. But now what you see, here's the advantage that Black Americans have. They're here. They're listening to what's going on. They understand that in this transfer from the boomers to the millennials to the zennials, they have to switch their focus from what was appropriate for the second and third industrial age. And now they have to focus their mind over the next decade on competing in the fourth industrial age. But here's the advantage. We're still here. We're here.
Right. That's all I'm saying is that we can pivot. They can't even pivot. If you don't have workable, reliable electricity, you're not in the fourth industrial revolution. No, even with those 442 tech hubs up on the World Economic Forum white paper.
And here's another thing, because I've been doing quite a bit of looking into China now. And I've been doing a lot of the historical on China over the last 100 years. And these Chinese aren't just coming to these different African nations to help them. The history of hold on. The history of colonizers is to come in, to put in a buffer class, and then to take over the entire countries. And China is not a country to be trusted. They killed 45 to 60 million of their own people in their transitions from capitalism to communism under Mao Zedong. So if you think that they're going over to Africa to help the Africans when half of their population, do you understand in China, just like in Africa, and they even have a higher poverty rate in China, they got 600 billion Chinese in third world abject poverty. You don't think that they would like to bring these people over to Africa and they will start populating Africa with their poor Chinese? They're building that infrastructure, not for the indigenous Africans. No colonizer has never went to any country and built infrastructure that ended up benefiting the majority of the indigenous people. They come in to wipe out the people. So when it comes to like whose outlook is better, it's Black Native Americans. We're here.
How is that working out for you right now?
Oh, it's working out
better than it is for people in Africa. Mike, it's working out better than the people, the masses of Africa.
Show me a story.
Because you're sitting on Chad Hurley's YouTube, and I'm talking on a smartphone with reliable electricity, and we're in different cities in the United States right now arguing.
That's funny. I'm talking to you on a smartphone that was produced in Africa on a wireless network here in America.
What
I
brand
just
is
got
that
all works.
Did the
You
Chinese
see how
build
it all
that?
works? No, it was
the Chinese?
actually
No,
made
come
in
on, bro.
Rwanda.
Give
It
me
was
an
actually
example.
Was it built by the Chinese in Rwanda?
No, it wasn't. It was actually built. What the fuck, dude? We actually profiled the company that made it.
Okay, I just want to. I just got a question.
Wow, dude.
This is just a
No,
general
no,
question.
we can't be doing this shit, dude.
Can I just say
This
a
is a general question. This is just a general question.
God damn it.
Because this is trying to bring this whole Chinese African thing, the superpowers, America versus China. Give me an example in the last 1,000 years of a colonizer that went into a foreign nation and
We're not arguing that. We're not arguing that.
But you're talking about the, but you said
no. King Sigma, you're moving the goalposts.
No.
You're moving the goalposts.
Complex.
If
We're
we're
waiting
talking
for
about
you
the
to get
conditions
Cali
of the
gangster,
African,
man.
hold on, Ray, hold on. I'm just trying to make a point.
Wait, fall back with that shit, bro. Like,
I'm trying to make a
seriously,
point.
man.
Just hold on one second. I'm just trying to make this point. If the comparison in who has the best outlook, if you're comparing Africans overall to the population of Black Americans, I'm gonna go with the Black Americans. Like what I'm trying to tell you is because the population of Africa, most of them is most likely gonna be wiped out and replaced by the poor Chinese who they're coming in and they're gonna build some infrastructure.
Can I say something?
Are you alleging?
I'm gonna say this.
Are you alleging?
I need to say this.
Oh shit.
I just asked. I'm asking someone. Has any colonizer ever come in and not?
No, that has nothing to do.
Why is he so divisive, man?
You move the goalposts on the discussion.
I'm not moving the goalposts. You asked like who has the best situations, the Africans or the Black Americans?
About the best situation, we are pointing out the fourth industrial revolution. Are Black Americans a part of the American fourth industrial revolution? Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
Where are the examples?
We got Black people working all through the economy and so.
No, fourth industrial, man.
Well, as the Black historically Black college engineering school.
3%.
We have explicitly outlined.
3% to 5% of all the STEM people are Black Americans.
Dude, no. We have specifically outlined what defines fourth industrialization. Okay. Now, in reference to those, what do you mean when you say STEM? STEM field. No, STEM is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, mathematics. That's all that is.
Okay. And is that not the foundation of the fourth industrial?
No, we're literally talking about like AI development, drone technology, automated automotive technology.
Okay, what percentage?
We're talking about this type IoT. Blockchain, cryptocurrency, hemp and cannabis.
I think that our population numbers is not too far behind where it would be, considering that we're making the transition from one industrial age to another. It's always going to be harder for some people, and because Black people came out of mostly a working class, they would have to make that transition over the next 10 years. And I believe that they can, because they do have that working class foundation.
Yeah, so do we. That's the reason why we hold things like certification hangouts and things like tech summits.
Are you gonna have a heart attack tonight?
No, it's not. It's not. The problem is that you come,
you act as the real problem is that you can't take a counter argument.
It's not about a counter. You're providing a counter argument that we provided a solution to. How about that?
You asked the question, and I'm giving you a response. I'm giving some background to say that Black people have been mostly a working class over the last 60 years. And now, just like when any revolution happens across the industry, there will be displacement. There will be a requirement for retraining. So what I'm saying is that I believe that because of the way that America's infrastructure is, and that Black Americans are still here, that they will make that transition because there's conversations like this happening. There's talking about the culture.
Let me explain, because I think you are missing the point of what fourth industrialization is about. China is a fourth industrialized country. Russia is not.
China is not leading. China is not leading the fourth industrial revolution according to the Deloitte study that you don't want to use. But you're using everything else.
No. Let Mike finish.
They're not. They're building shoddy products.
Hold on. Let Mike finish, bro. Let Mike finish. Thank you.
Now, Black people are not a part of this process. We covered an article over the weekend with Dr. Phoenix that showed Black people have the highest dropout rates for STEM, which also leads into fourth industrialized jobs.
But we can respond to that, Mike.
Let Mike finish,
we can
bro.
address that.
Yo,
They can't even address it in Africa.
No.
Yeah.
He's not finished, bro. He's not finished.
I'm not finished. Okay, we do this for a living here. We're not just making this stuff up. We do this for a living. You guys just watch us. That's what you do. Black people are not a part of this. We just covered this. Google, Facebook, all your top 10 tech companies have less than 5% of their employee base is actually Black. So where are Black people industrializing in this fourth industrial age? They're not doing it.
You just said that it's
outside of these tech startups, Mike. Outside of these 400 tech startups, where are the fourth industrial revolution companies in Africa? Which ones have they developed?
We just pointed that. We just pointed that here.
But you just compared
these are alleged tech hubs.
Ray, hold on. Ray, just hold on 1 second. Now, you just said that there's about 5% of Black representation. Blacks are only 12% of the economy. The demographics, we're 12. So we're 50% behind where we should be. But if there's already a basis that's 5% in comparison to our 12% numbers, now how does that translate to Africa with their 1.2 billion population and the size of their tech hub? Now how does that coincide with that?
Are you comparing a country to a continent?
Hold on, complex.
Bro, you
my
need
bad,
to
dude.
take, you need to take a chill pill, something serious, bro.
Dude,
like
it's
serious,
like,
man. Calm down.
Man.
So
let me finish.
I didn't ask him about I said compare the tech hubs. You tell me. He said that it's about 5% for Black American participation in the tech hub industry here. Our population percentage is 12%. So we're behind by about 7% because we should be equal to our numbers in the population. Now, give me the comparison in Africa. They have a population of across 54 nations of 1.2 billion. How big is their tech hub in comparison to that population? And how does that relate to the fact that they have, almost 500 billion people in poverty over there?
No, it's not 500 billion. It will be at least, at the very least, close to 300 million in Nigeria.
I mean 500 million. I mean 500 million.
So let me finish. Finish reading this, King Sigma, so you can understand where we're coming from, and so that you can understand where this is going. Africa has definitely grasped the promise of the fourth industrial revolution. You guys say that it's not happening. The World Economic Forum says it is happening.
I didn't say it wasn't happening. That's not what I said.
Mike, the World Economic Forum says Africa has definitely grasped the promise of the 4IR.
You can't say the
That's
same
what
thing
your
about,
article says. They are grasping a promise.
Am I muted or something?
No, I can hear you.
Africa has grasped the promise of the fourth industrial revolution. More than 400 tech hubs have sprung up across the continent.
Okay, so there's the number we were looking for. So so there it is.
Hold on a second, King Sigma. You're jumping in and you don't even understand where we're going with this. There's another article that I can pull up from our dockets from last summer that says that this number is going to double after 2020 to 800, and it's going to exponentially grow by 2030. Okay, we have dockets on it. That's what we do here. We have references to articles that we read and that we're pointing to it. This is a credible source. This isn't Deloitte, independently kind of doing things.
So now Deloitte is not credible. No, and as well, Mike, the population of Africa will double. And so as they double their population, they'll have still more people competing for scarce resources.
Okay, let me finish my point. With Lagos, Nairobi, and Cape Town emerging as the internationally recognized technology centers, these cities now host thousands of startups, along with the incubators, accelerators, innovation hubs, makerspaces, technology parks, and co-working spaces that support them. In Black America, where is this happening?
I think that if we were to compare,
we've answered that for you, Mike, several times, man. So keep moving forward.
No, you have not.
So let's look at that. So let's look at these. Let's do the numbers.
Hold a second. I just wanted to come in.
Hold on, hold on. He asked me a question.
No. Hold a second.
Because he just read something I need to respond to.
Hold on. In just 1 second. If you have answered that question, answer it. I haven't gotten an answer. I haven't gotten an answer on that.
Right.
I gave him the answer. He himself answered the question. He said that
what is the answer?
blacks are participating in the tech hubs here in America at a 5% rate.
No,
About half of
in
their
predominantly black neighborhoods, in predominantly black cities, where is this taking place?
It does not have to be in front. We don't have any. King T'Challa did not build those Wakanda tech centers for us from the Black Panther movie, so it's not going to be in black neighborhoods.
So for every one of those tech hubs in Africa, that said across, it says that more than 400 tech hubs have sprung up across the continent. That comes out to one hub for every 3 million people.
No, it doesn't have any. That has nothing to do
on
with
that
the numbers.
Yes, it does.
It's not about the numbers. It's not about the numbers of people. It's about the institutions. The tech hubs are institutions in Black America. Where are these institutions in Black neighborhoods and Black cities? That's
what I said to you is that Black Americans are integrated we're in an integrated society. So there's
I'm done.
So they're working for Google. They're working for Facebook.
No,
they're integrated in the economy.
That is not the same.
What do you mean it's not? We live in an integrated country. What do you mean?
Do you not have
You mean to tell me in areas where it's predominantly Black, there can't be tech hubs there?
No, you didn't hear me say it can't be. What I said is that Black Americans are integrated.
So the question that Mike asked was, where are they at though? Because there are predominantly Black areas where we could have tech sectors.
The reason that you don't have them in that tech hub, because many of the Black people that are in those industries are working in Silicon Valley for other people, and they have not started up those hubs yet, but they are working in those industries.
Oh, so that would then support the reason why it is that would support the reason why
the mayor of Birmingham, who is a brother, has established Birmingham as a tech hub.
So that would support the reason why we're the ones that are out here actually pushing for certifications, for brothers to get into IT. We're pushing for Black tech startup culture. See, that's been us this whole time that's been calling for this shit. See, so I find it highly disingenuous.
Complex, I'm sure that you feel good about that, but
I feel great about it. I actually feel great about it.
NSBE has been doing that since 1975.
Oh, who?
The National Society of Black Engineers.
Hey, Mike, tell me a little something about that.
I'm a part of the #1 chapter in the region, in the country.
I'm glad to hear that. Y'all are
so we out here doing the work.
Lately, and now on the internet, y'all are teaching all of the 40 million Black Americans about getting into STEM now. Not the minority, engineering. Let me get that committee information for you. But this has been going on a while. I appreciate what you're saying, but NSBE's been doing that before you were born, I think. Mike, you're a pretty young cat.
Well, Mike is a representative of said institution.
And we and our people started NSBE.
Excuse me? Excuse me?
Somebody's in the background.
No, what did he just say? What did Ray just say?
No, Ray, I said our people started the National Society of Black Engineers.
If you look at most NSBE, it's run by Africans.
You're talking about it recently, and some of that may be the case in some areas, but that's what started by brothers, and we still have the ability to respond now. And so I'm glad that you're bringing this out now, Mike, because that's what I was saying at the beginning. It sounds like y'all are trashing us out and saying that
who is us?
We're not going to be a part of it, but you're a part of the organization
who is
that
us?
We created.
Who's us? Who's us?
Well, I'm saying that if you're saying that Black Americans who started the National Society of Black Engineers, and now you're saying the new people who are part of it, and I'm not sure, are you certain that Africans are the majority of NSBE now?
Absolutely.
Well, he's in it.
Okay.
I'm in it.
No, but I mean, it's a nationwide organization, so I'm not certain.
I'm saying from my chapter.
From your chapter in the Boston area, I can see that.
Yeah, we're the #1 chapter in the country. But when King Sigma wants to make these comparisons and says that, well, Black people are doing better here, we just went over the numbers last week.
Of course, Black people on average are doing better because they live in a first world country, and they're.
I haven't finished making my point, brother. I haven't finished making my point. We went over the numbers last week with a hot map that showed all of the areas of poverty in this country, and it shows that it's all predominantly Black.
But first world poverty is much different than third world poverty.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It does not matter, dude.
It does matter. How can you say that living in third world poverty when you got half of their continent in, I'm talking about poverty where they don't know if they're gonna eat for 2 or 3 weeks. American poverty is much different. And all America has to do is make a certain, see, here's what I'm trying to get at.
American poverty is much different. You have
tell
kids
that to those
starving
in
to death here in
poverty.
America. You have kids over here dying of ringworm.
But no American
A
child.
ringworm in the United States.
Not the majority. Come on, Nagone, not the majority. You may have that in certain small areas, but not the majority.
But you most
the
certainly
majority
should
of
have
Black
that in the
Americans
first
do
world.
have access to health care.
You don't have 500 million people starving in America, bro. You don't
have what?
You don't have 50% of Americans in abject poverty. I don't care what you say.
Well, we're not talking about 50% of. See, what you're trying to say is Africa and the Africa and the United States, and judging both of them side by side and saying, hey, this is equal comparison. Africa.
I keep saying that's disingenuous. You can't do that.
Hold on a second.
You're the ones making the conversation.
Africa is a continent that is emerging. It's an emerging continent with 54 nations, 55 nations there. And we are looking.
Nagone, they said that when they got independent in the 1960s, and they've been basically failing since independence.
Okay. Say what you're going to say, and then I'm going to say what I got to say. Finish what you're going to say. Go ahead. Say what you're going to say.
Well, you're saying, go ahead and make your point on that, man. I'm saying,
nah, man,
Africa was supposed to be doing. You're saying that Africa is emerging. King Sigma has already showed the Chinese wave coming in there. In the 1960s, all of the nations says when they moved from the colonialism, they were going to do these great and grand things, and most of them are now failed states.
Well, here's the thing about China, though, Ray.
You're saying that most of them are failed states. You have a lot of these countries that had civil wars like we did. You have most of these countries that had to come back and ultimately start to solve some of their own problems that they've had. We've had Rwanda, for example, a country that had one of the most savage civil wars we've seen. 90%, we're looking at what damn near 800,000 people died in 90 days in that country. Okay. Okay. 800,000 people died in 90 days. All right. So, we looked at that. Now, what are we looking at? We're looking at a country, okay, that has begun to re-anneal itself. All right. begun to heal rather nicely, and they're producing cell phones. Okay. We have Ghana that are producing cars. So we're looking at nations that at this stage of the game are coming into not only into the fourth industrial revolution, getting ensconced, and others from other countries, from other nations, okay, outside of the African continent, are looking to invest and come in. You guys say, well, they're colonialists and so forth. Many of them are investors, Russian, Chinese, all right. Many other groups are coming in and saying, hey, this is one of the hot tech hubs that are going to be certainly growing over the next decade, and certainly we God knows exactly how far these guys are going to grow over the next century. So we're looking at a continent that is also geared to take full advantage of the fourth and fifth industrial revolutions, because a lot of these countries are developing. So they can come in and put the newest infrastructure in. They can come in and lay down the newest types of let's say maglev rail lines and so forth. They can do a lot of very new things that let's say maybe older countries that have an established, let's say, infrastructure where they got to pull that up, rebuild, do a lot of things. These guys can jump right into it.
Or you mean like the United States?
And so
like the United States,
they have a lot of they have a lot of tech startups going on in Africa right now. A lot of that is going on at this stage of the game. A lot of coding programs. You have a lot of kids who are starting to get involved in this tech area at somewhat of a higher rate per capita than we have going on here in the United States.
Nagone, that's not true, Nagone. That is not true.
We do see that happening. We've had many articles on this. Anyway, you're saying it's not true. You proved nothing on that.
Those are not the facts.
You're giving an opinion.
Nagone,
we've got many articles
that is not true. Those are not the facts.
Anyway,
here's the ultimate question.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I just got this one statement. So even if everything that Nagone says is true, because I'm not even going to argue that potential is there. How do I know that? Because it was at one point, these Western hemisphere that we live in, it was in the same position. Guess what? those colonizers came over here
Hello?
and they said, we're going to build this and that, but there's always a cost. And the cost was that where there were 100 million indigenous people here, now there's only 1,000,500 years later. So what I'm saying is that you might be right that Africa has a future, but it's going to come at a cost. And if the Chinese history is anything like if their present is anything like they've done over the last 100 years, these people killed up to 60 million of their own people to make that transition.
How many million?
How many will they kill in Africa? I don't know. But it's gonna so it's not gonna benefit the majority of the Africans.
What I'm asking you is how many Black people are oppressed by the same system here in America?
It depends on who you talk to. A lot of Black Americans don't think they're oppressed.
And Mike, come on, man. We have overcome a whole lot of opportunities. We just got through talking about we're all at different locations.
Exactly.
We have relative freedom and peace. We're speaking on smartphones. We don't even know each other. We're able to communicate. This is not possible for the most part for most African people on the continent. And I'm not trying to be mean-spirited. That's the reality.
I have a question for Mike. Can I ask Mike a question?
Yeah, go right ahead, brother.
Can I ask Mike a question?
Go ahead, brother.
Thanks for inviting me on the panel. This is SOBC. So earlier you were having a back and forth with King Sigma, and King Sigma said blacks live in an integrated society, and you mentioned Chinatown. So I don't know why you mentioned Chinatown. So do you have an example of any Chinese tech startups in the United States?
Chinatown is an economic zone, is it not?
No, but we're talking about tech, though.
No, it doesn't matter because it's all relevant, right? It's an economic zone, right?
Is an Atlanta's an economic zone?
No. You're missing the point. The Chinese force their language right in everyone's face. No one has a problem with that, right? They do business there. If you want goods, you go there to do business with them. Where's the equivalency if we're going to say fourth industrialization? Where's the equivalency in predominantly Black neighborhoods? I don't see it.
And most Black people are spread out across.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
There are several cities in the United States that have a capacity of over 75,000 Black people in residency.
But there's different socioeconomic strata in Black America. You can go to certain cities in New Jersey where I think New Jersey has one of the richest hubs of Black people in the world. It has one of the richest zip codes of Black Americans in the world. There are certain places like in LA where if you have a few thousand Black people that are millionaires, in Atlanta, Buckhead, they had the average Black person. Don't they make like what, $250,000 per family? What are you talking about?
So that confirms my point then.
No,
Black people are not driving. Black people integrated themselves over 60 years into all the industries, and they're having lots of success. But there's a whole lot of opportunity to make that switch.
King Sigma, who's driving?
Oh my God!
Who's driving technology? Where are Black people in the United States here driving technology?
Where are Africans driving technology in Africa?
Jay-Z is driving technology because he's your go-to for all things successful. All right, man. I mean, dude.
Go ahead and respond to going for me, bro. Since you can talk for me, apparently.
Let King Sigma answer.
I'm going to mute myself.
So Nagon asked the question, who's driving it? When I see someone like a Robert F. Smith take 40 to 50 million of his dollars to invest in recent graduates of Morehead to get ready to set the seeds for what will one day become a tech industry. It always starts with a couple people that make it through. What happened with Black America is that many of them were integrated into the other areas outside of tech, and they were doing well. That's why we have these different hubs of Black lawyers, Black doctors, Black accountants, things like that. Blacks were taught, put your investment in those industries. Now, Robert F. Smith has broken through, Byron Allen has broken through, and they're telling Black men now you have to make that jump from the accounting thing was good for the last 2 generations. Now you have to make that jump into the tech industry. And I'm going to help pave that way for you by bailing out 400 to 500 Black men who can now focus on getting retrained in that industry. And he is one of the ones that is actually.
Okay. Hey, listen, no one would disagree with you on that. But the question still remains, where are we driving? Where are we the major drivers of technology?
I
here?
just told you, Robert.
That's not a driver of
You're saying
technology. You know that.
you're
man.
saying there's
That's
going
not a
to be a
driver.
potential.
know that.
You're gonna say there's going to be a potential to
No.
drive, right? Of which I agree. Okay,
Go
that's
ahead.
the same kind of thing you have going on in Africa. You
I
have
didn't say it
people
wasn't. I did not deny
who
that.
are potentially going to be driving technology as well, and currently there are those there that are doing it. So that is really our point. That's really our key
I don't
point
disagree
here.
with that. Nagon.
Okay. And I don't disagree. I don't disagree with your point.
What I
But
was
the bottom line is that with, let's say, the said wealth and resources that we have here, all right, we are not the major technology. We are not major technology drivers here, even though we're big users of it, Facebook and things like that. We're not driving a lot of technology. We're not creating, producing,
But Nagon,
driving a lot of it.
Africans on the continent are not driving technology on the continent.
Let's put it like this. When I see Ghanaians making cars, all right, when I see people in Rwanda making cell phones, when we see people in Uganda making cars as well, and computers and so forth, we see people beginning to drive technology. We have, and that's the key there. We're not saying that Africa right now is equal to the United States with respect to total resource and so forth. It is not. This is a developing continent that has many developing nations. And we're looking at how they're developing, and we're saying that here we are here in the United States with supposedly immense resources, and we're not drivers of technology. That's why here in the Brain Trust, we push a lot of us getting into tech and so forth, and help to become technology drivers. And I think that's the key here. Anyway, I'm gonna mute up. I'm gonna mute up here.
Okay, so to add on to what Nagon was saying, here's why the comparison I feel doesn't work, and that's where I think the conflict comes in. You're taking countries that, from my understanding, most of these African nations, let's take the Black ones, they're Black nations. They don't have to integrate. Black Americans are 10% to 12% of the US population. They're in an integrated society where they're outnumbered 7-1. Now, in Africa, in these different nations their populations are some kind of Black, brown, or whatever. That's the dominant population in those countries. And all these other groups like the Chinese and the other investors that are coming in and putting this infrastructure, right now, they're just a small group there. So they're not an integrated society like America. Blacks are integrated in all the industries, even though they have not pushed themselves in the tech industry like they should have, because again, they saw over the last 30 years, success is just having a white collar job. So you guys are right.
Wait. So you're telling me, what you're telling me here is that because we live in an integrated society, that somehow you can't have like wholly owned Black companies or something?
You never heard me say that they can't do anything. So
well, what I'm trying to actually make sense of what you're saying.
What I said is that the comparison doesn't work, because those are sovereign nations where their populations are dominated by their racial ethnic groups.
King Sigma, the question still remains is
no, it's not. It's not a good point. And I got a counterexample. Go ahead.
Whereas in order to judge the Black population, okay, this is what
the question still remains is
that's not a good example.
With 12.5, 13% of the population, we are grossly underrepresented.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, we're leaving so much on the goddamn table. It's not a good example.
Africans on the continent are grossly underrepresented in technology and science.
And you're saying that's because basically what you're saying is that's because of integration.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But you cut me off.
Okay.
Then what I was going to say.
Or they just happen to have a white collar job.
That's not what I was going to see. Again.
No. I'm just trying to get some clarity.
Let me finish.
No. I'm just trying to get some clarity. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm just trying to get clarity. Go ahead.
These are independent nations with their own population of Blacks that run everything. Now, in order to try to get a better comparison, we would have to have the 40 million Blacks segregated in America somewhere where they've had control of all their land and all their infrastructure to do a fair comparison, because these people are in their own jurisdiction. They're the dominant population.
Oh my God, dude. What the fuck?
Easy.
Black Americans are integrated all throughout the society, all throughout all the different service industries, the business industry. They're integrated. So you can't really make the comparison because we don't have a sovereign land. How can you make that comparison between nations that are independent nations all across a continent?
Mike simply, he merely mentioned Chinatown as a perfect example of how you can have a sub-economy within a greater economy. How you can have a sub-industry within a greater industry.
No one said you can't have a sub-economy, but many Black people, again, that just proves my point. Black Americans are so integrated that they consider themselves a part of the greater economy. So
you're not proving a point, dude. When we're sitting up here, we're the ones actually pushing the narrative here to actually go counter to what you're talking about. How am I proving your point?
You said that China has a subgroup, and what I'm telling you is that most Black Americans, they don't look at it that way. They say, I'm gonna go buy this at Walmart. I'm gonna go buy this at Coach or whatever. They're spending their money all throughout the economy. They don't have, because they consider themselves Americans, most of them. They don't consider themselves a separate group. Chinese people are connected directly. Most of those Chinese speak Chinese. Most of them have a connection directly with their nation. They have an independent culture of America. Black Americans do not have an independent culture for the most part, separate from America.
What the hell do you think is the point of us pushing the need of having a tech startup culture? Why do you think we've been pushing this?
I didn't say that you shouldn't push the need for a tech.
Well, no. Then apparently you haven't been listening to our narrative this whole time. This is the reason why when we sit up here and listen to
Black Americans to Chinese in terms of do the Chinese you're
talking
about?
No.
The Chinese that you're talking about,
you got it wrong, bro. You got it wrong.
The Chinese that you're talking about have a tech hub.
The Chinese.
They have.
That's the same question I asked. Nobody answered it.
Hub in Chinatown all across America.
Are you talking about Chinatowns?
Yeah, are there tech hubs all across the Chinatowns in America?
You're starting to see that. So that's
you're starting to see it. It means
no, because you're taking my.
It means no. The answer is no.
No, you're
taking. Well, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Comparison is false.
No, you're taking my point out of context. These are economic zones. These are economic empowered zones. Where is the equivalency when it comes to the diaspora?
Again,
no.
So if you can't show me an example, then you're proving our point.
Atlanta has all kind of Black business hubs.
Oh no! You see, you're all over the place, bro.
No, I'm not over the place. You're comparing China. Does China have all these tech hubs that you think Black should have?
No, I said Chinatown, not China.
Okay, does Chinatown have all these tech hubs that you?
No, it's an economic zone. It's an economic zone. We're talking about a fourth industrial revolution.
Okay, so does China have the tech hubs in this fourth industrial age?
Chinatown. Make the
Chinatown.
Chinatown is not set up for that. It doesn't. It does not stop them from making that transition. The problem here is
so the same can apply to Black Americans as well. Nothing stopping.
They don't. Well, I would say that American Chinese don't necessarily. Well, hold on, no, because I'm answering your question. I would actually posit to say that Chinese Americans don't necessarily need to have that. You see, because they have huge fucking campuses back in the homeland, right? And they import massive amounts of the technology that they produce all across the globe. See, you're not in that position to make an equal equivalence to say, well, does Chinatown have a tech hub in there? No, they have entire.
But it doesn't benefit most Chinese.
Excuse me?
600 million of them are in abject poverty, third world poverty. So none of that's benefiting the majority of Chinese.
Those are separate points.
That has nothing to do. What the? Whoa.
Hold on, Complex. Hold on.
Because if you're saying that they're so advanced, they wouldn't have the poverty rate that they have, wouldn't they? They would have.
No, you're moving the goalpost, dude. Wait. Where's that? What? Who's arguing any of this stuff?
If you're making the point that they're so advanced, correct? They're so advanced in this.
No, wait. Was that the point was that the point we were just arguing? Was that the point we were just arguing?
We were arguing
about. No, that was not the point.
That wasn't it, dude. What the fuck?
We were talking about China
all over the place, dude.
I asked you where are the
King Sigma's he's all over the place right now. Okay,
Mike. I asked a simple question: where are the tech hubs in Chinatowns across America? That's what I asked.
That's not what Chinatown was set up for. That's not what
it was. But okay, Black America wasn't set up for that either.
Chinatown is an immigrant community, and I can tell you as a recruiter, and I can tell you as a tech recruiter, I get a whole lot of Chinese resumes coming in on all these tech jobs, as opposed to almost zero ADOS and quite a bit more than the Caucasoid as well.
Yeah,
So-
and ADOS makes
so-
it the least.
Why are you
So-
always
so-
talking about ADOS? ADOS doesn't need you to sit up here looking down on them.
It's not a question about looking down on ADOS.
I am ADOS.
You haven't proven to me that black cities were
It's
set
a question.
I am
It's a
ADOS.
question
weren't
of
set
us.
up for tech hubs
It's a question
either.
of us getting more involved in the game.
But I am ADOS.
Black neighborhoods weren't set up for tech hubs either. They have to make that migration over the next 10 to 20 years.
Hey, Mike. So what is it that we talked about? Leveraging pre-existing infrastructure in black areas, largely in like buildings, for example, that are completely vacant and been vacant for like years, right? Or go ahead.
And we're already working on a social equity fourth industrial plan just for that very purpose. But see, had you been paying attention to what we talk about and had you been following us closely like you should have, instead of arguing over semantics on whether or not we're looking down on ADOS, you would know what we were talking about. But see, you don't follow us like that.
What I'm
so
saying is that you're not making a fair comparison. You're not making a fair comparison.
You hear a snippet and you jump at that, but you don't follow us fully. So that's why you don't know what we're talking about here. And you don't know what you're talking about because you're all over the place.
I'm not all over the place.
Everybody else in the chat can see what we're talking about, except for you and
what I'm saying to you. All I said to you is that what you're talking about, the Africa's tech revolution, is not going to benefit most of the indigenous Africans. And
does it matter?
It does matter because you were comparing the Africans to Black Americans.
If you plan on being here in a competitive space, you're already too late. You're already too late.
I don't think Black Americans are too late, so that's what we disagree at.
You said you don't think.
Mike, if Black Americans too late, Africa is not even on the map.
Okay, here's a question. Then. If you believe that ADOS are too late, like you just said, right? Why are you wasting time talking to ADOS then?
Hold on a second.
No, because go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
They're too late.
No.
If it's too late, then you wouldn't be having this conversation.
Let me finish. Let me answer the question.
Wait, somebody's got to mute.
Yeah.
Mike, if Black Americans too late, Africa is not even on the map.
Okay, here's the question.
It's Ray. So the reason why we do what we do on here is because we still think that there are some people who can actually be saved from this. Now, we do what we do on here because we think it's necessary to actually do it. Somebody has to drive it because nobody else in the manosphere is driving this right now like we do. We do this week in, week out. You hear one snippet and the first thing you want to do is argue the snippet, but you don't want to actually follow the fucking content. That's what infuriates us. That's why we're going down your throat right now. Because you come up here, you filibuster. We've been up here for like 2 or 3 hours, racing some articles that are dated, that have nothing to do with what's going on right now. We're reading an article right now from World Economic Forum. What's the date on here? September 1st, 2019. It says Africa has taken 3 significant steps in recent months on its journey to a stronger economic future. You guys say that they're living in abject poverty. But I talk to Africans on a regular basis and they're writing code even with rolling blackouts.
And you've talked to those that live in that 41% that are in third world poverty. Or are you talking to the ones that are in the tourist cities? Which ones are you talking to?
I've talked to at least 8 of them in February of 2019. We did a whole live stream. Hold on. We did a whole live stream talking about African members of parliament looking to do business with ADOS, and they can't find anybody to do it with because ADOS isn't even ready yet.
My business partner is African. Engineering cannabis is African. We got African brothers. Dude, this is just so fucking disingenuous.
We don't run with hashtags on here, King Sigma. We don't do hashtags here.
We don't do hashtag.
No, y'all follow the hashtags. We don't do the hashtags here. So when we y'all, in terms of what you just said, we look down on ADOS.
I didn't mention anything. No, I'm saying that I'm asking you if you're saying that you thought it was really too late. Why waste the time? That's what I was asking. You said it, not me.
Let me.
No, you made the assumption that he thinks it's too late, bro.
No, Complex, step aside. Mike said it's too late for ADOS, and I said, well, why even waste your time if it's too late?
No, hold on a second, because when I made that statement, I was saying that if Black people think that they can change it around in 10 years, you're already too late.
What Mike is saying is time is of the
man.
essence.
Get the
And that's the
context
game.
right.
And that's the game we're talking about here. Is time is of the essence. King Sigma, you're in your feelings here, real quick. And I got mad respect for you, but you're in your feelings. And at the end of the day, I would like you to kind of sit back and kind of listen to exactly what we're trying to say about this is a time-dependent kind of thing, and that we're not in good shape on this, and that we need to start getting up on the stick relatively quickly. That's what we're really pushing here. I'd like you go to law school, you're supposed to be a debater, and you're supposed to look at these kind of things. What an attorney does is what he does. He does what's called a discovery phase. He finds out what all the issues are first before he makes any types of judgments on a case. So at the end of the day, you've got to get all the pieces together here. You don't have all the pieces, but yet you're running off and trying to already, adjudicate the case where you don't have all the facts.
And not only that,
and that's a little bit of a problem. And the only thing I'm saying is, we're trying to make a slightly different point than what you're trying to make, and moving the goalposts and all this, because you're feeling as though that, we're attacking ADOS and saying, I'm ADOS, Complex is ADOS. We got a lot of ADOS folks here. Yeah. I'm ADOS like a motherfucker. But at the end of the day, we have to look at what some of the realities on the ground.
Can I ask?
And that's kind of what we're talking about.
I find this shit fucking hilarious. I find it fucking hilarious because the thing about it is this. I mean, to listen to this right here, to listen to this talk here, you would think that for a group of people who spend all their goddamn time on YouTube arguing and bickering over a fucking gender war and a gynocracy and bitches and niggas and all this dumb shit, you would think that the very people that he's speaking about would actually be speaking about what we're talking about in a very weird paradoxical way. I mean, it's funny. I don't actually see how that reflects. I don't see how what you're talking about reflects in any fucking thing.
I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for anyone else. So who are you referring to exactly?
What do you mean? What am I referring to? I'm referring to exactly to the fact that the very thing that you come up here and argue against us against, right, is the very thing that you actually can't prove in real life. And what I'm saying is that if you had to ask me, and I said, well, let me actually go look at where Black America's at with regards to their tech orientation, and let's go engage in the discussion with them. And what you'll find is they ain't talking about it.
I never disagree.
I have a question for Mike. Can I ask Mike a question?
Let SOBC ask this question, because we need to shut down in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, quick question, Mike. You said you spoke with a couple African investors who said ADOS are not ready.
Yeah, members of parliament and investors from the continent.
Where are these people looking? Where exactly are they looking for this town that they cannot find? And they're saying that it's not ready.
We were in Boston when this happened, but they travel around. They've been back and forth to the continent about 50 times in the last 2 years. So they're not just somebody who's just doing nothing. They're actually investing in businesses over there in civil engineering projects. So when I came to their discussion locally, they're not here now, but they're back on the continent. They said they have very few people that they can find from an ADOS perspective, from a Black American perspective, who has the skill set necessary to drive fourth industrialization over there. Okay, there's millions of dollars on the table for contracts that they're competing against the Chinese, the South Koreans, the Japanese, the Russians, and everybody else. And when they come here and have these discussions, just like in the manosphere, niggas ain't having that discussion. Niggas ain't having that discussion on in the manosphere or on YouTube. Show me another platform right now that's having that discussion. We're the only people on YouTube right now having these discussions in depth and providing dockets and citing our sources. And yet we got niggas on here trying to argue with us about whether or not Africans have a full electricity or running water. It's absurd, man. It's absurd. Niggas argue over fucking semantics, but won't actually provide sufficient evidence to what they think that we're arguing against. Where are Black people driving the technology? They're not. They're not driving artificial intelligence. They're not driving, autonomous vehicles and IoT, Internet of Things and things of that nature. They're not driving any of that shit. We just covered 2 dozen articles in the last 3 days showing Africans are driving all of these technologies right now, and there's black faces on it. And yeah, you got people coming on here arguing with us about whether or not they have fucking clean water. You ain't got clean water in fucking Flint, Michigan, and niggas is arguing about that. Fuck out of here.
Come on, man.
That's bullshit.
Come on, dude.
Fuck out of here, man.
Don't play us, man.
But again,
don't do that, man.
We're still comparing a 40 million deep population.
No, you're missing the point, King Sigma, brother. You're missing the point.
Billion.
I mean, you're missing the point. Instead of worrying about whether or not there's 1.2 billion people on the continent, go create something. Go create something.
I don't disagree with that at all. That's not the point that I was arguing, but I don't disagree with that at all. In fact, I just had a whole stream telling Black American men, even before you guys did the stream, that they're behind in this fourth industrial age. So that's not what I was disagreeing with you on.
Right. I'm not saying you're a bad person or anybody else is a bad person. I'm saying niggas would rather argue, man, rather than actually go out there and do something. YouTube is only 10% of what we do on here. The rest of 90% of our day is actually handling business behind the scenes. There's so many emails and stuff that we've been trading the last 2 years. Y'all are not even a part of. Y'all are not even a part of this type of stuff. Social equity programs for legalization of cannabis. Nobody in the manosphere is having that conversation except us. $8 billion economy in California, $7 billion in Colorado, $6 billion in Washington. How much? What's the percentage of African Americans getting a hold of that revenue?
Oh, definitely not enough. Definitely not enough in those industries.
Right. Wait, $20 billion national hemp market for 2020. Who's talking about it?
Show us somebody in the manosphere is talking about it. I don't see niggas talking about that at all.
Well, I can't speak for the whole manosphere. I can only speak for myself. And these are the kind of topics that I do talk about all the time. But you know what? Those topics don't get a lot of love. So I can't speak for everyone else in the manosphere, but I can speak for myself. I have conversations like this all the time. But those, you know what? Those topics don't get any attention. No one cares about those topics for whatever reason.
Well, you know what? But you know, you got people who will care enough. They'll care enough to fall through, though, right? Without the facts and trying to argue.
No,
and that's really what chaps are hired, bro.
Mm-hmm. We do Black Tech Talks 3 times a week, at least 3 times a week. Black Healthcare Talks at least once a week. Cannabis business chat at least once a week or at least twice a month. We're having these discussions, and yet you're telling us that Black Americans are doing good. I'm not seeing it, bro.
No, what I said to you is that Black Americans as an integrated group is doing good by the numbers based on the kind of jobs that they took. When you look at the white collar and blue collar, that's the kind of jobs that the last 3 generations were trained in. We don't have any disagreement on where Blacks should be in terms of putting their children in STEM and in terms of their numbers in Silicon Valley entrepreneurship. Like I said, I just did a panel on that. We don't have a disagreement on that. But to say that Black Americans condition is comparable on average to what the Africans across, that's not even comparable. Even our worst off Black Americans here are not as worst off as Africans are.
Wait. Again, who said that? Who said that?
He was comparing Black Americans to Africans. So he said that they're not doing that good. They're doing good based on where the economy.
Bro, what context did he say? Did he make that comparison in?
He just said it generally. His statement was general.
No, it wasn't.
Nope.
It wasn't.
But if you're just talking about strictly in the STEM, then I agree with you guys on that. I'm not going to argue that. We are not where we're supposed to be in terms of STEM.
So again, if you've been following along, well, we've been talking about this whole time, you would know that that's exactly what the fuck we've been talking about.
When I was in the chat, that wasn't exactly what you were talking about.
Because what Ray was arguing was about a 15-year-old who was featured in the article who was Senegalese.
But that wasn't what you were responding to what I was saying in the chat though, Mike. I was really coming up here because I was just giving out the numbers about the literacy rates, because that stuff is the literacy rates, the poverty rates. It's not comparable to what's going on with African Americans. That was my point.
But what we're saying
is you're the one that called me up here. I was just.
Of course, I called you up here. I called you up here so you can get some of these licks too. But what I'm saying here,
Hey, I live for this. This ain't no ego thing with me.
No, it's not. It's not about ego, man. Because I saw you had a lot to say in the chat, so I figured let me kill
Someone's in the background.
But don't think that this is like an ego thing for me. This is what I live for. How can you grow if you're not ever wrong? If you're not kind of wrong, that's where the growth comes. So I don't take that personally.
Well, King Sigma, I think the thing, you
Hey,
would
Mike,
definitely.
someone's in the background.
Okay.
We're not gonna take anybody else on.
You were getting angry saying that we were apparently we were downing or attacking ADOS as ADOS being fucked up, I guess, for lack of better words, and we're not attacking ourselves. What we're doing is we're elucidating a bit more on what's going on and how we have to start to kind of roll. And we're looking at Africa, as an emerging continent that is going to be an emerging player in this serious tech arena, and they're showing some promise right now. And we need to be getting along those lines, and that's something that we're not doing here, and we should be also in concert working with ADOS and Africans. We should be working together as well.
Yeah,
and that's
what I was saying.
Economies.
What I was saying,
and that's a lot of what we talk about here, and in these articles and so forth that we have so many that we have so much content on. Is really what this really really revolves around.
All I was saying is I was just trying to get to the point that the cultural situation with Black Americans has to be fixed. That's the biggest obstacle right now for Black Americans.
But that's all I'm
trying to say is that the cultural piece, like, working with Africa, they got to get the family stuff in order before they can start working with other countries. They got to get that shit in order. Then they got to make the transition to the new age that you guys are talking about. That's all I'm just trying to get at. The culture.
Wait. It's also a function of information getting out here. It's also a function of information. And this information's out there because when we go through the rest of the manosphere, guys are talking about who's select, who isn't, and what female is this and who's fucking around with this, and just a hodgepodge of a lot of dog shit.
No, you're right about that. That's true.
So we want to make sure that in this sector we're bringing in a different conversation that we think is critical and germane to our overall.
No, the CEO of fucking Twitter.
I got you on that. I won't even disagree with you on that because I've seen that these kind of streams, they don't get the attention. So you're right on that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If you're not even a part of driving the technology, you're already lost. You're already lost.
So what we're saying is we gotta get in there, drive the technology, and then you won't be lost. And that's what we're saying.
Listen, the president of Russia, the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, said this months ago. Whoever controls AI, controls artificial intelligence, will control the world. There is a race right now, an arms race for artificial intelligence. Black people are not a part of that discussion, man. They're just not a part of it. You have we read an article not too long ago with the Nigerian, I think he's like a technology minister or something like that, who says that blockchain is a Pan-Africanist tool. That's the way they're talking over. That's the way they're thinking. You coming to America?
I can't speak to that. I don't know. No, I had never heard nothing like that before, so I can't speak to that. Nah, I never heard nothing that silly before. So
whoa, what's silly?
About you? Anyone say anything about Bitcoin being some kind of Pan-African scheme, whatever?
No, blockchain. Blockchain is a part of the fourth industrial revolution.
He's saying. But I'm saying you said that someone attacked that idea?
No. What I'm saying is the technology. The way they're thinking over there, their intellectual capacity is that exponentially of what we see from Black Americans.
Okay, see, that's when you said over there. That's what I'm trying to get. Who are you referring to? You didn't say who you're referring to.
No, I was making a point that's how they're talking. That's how they're talking.
Are you talking about Africans or are you talking about on YouTube?
Africans.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get out. I didn't know if you were talking about Black.
Yeah. Africans are talking that way. And they're saying, hey, these digital transformation tools, blockchain and IoT and AI and machine learning and data science, hey, these are things that can actually liberate us. You try having these conversations with most Black people in America and they're not having that conversation, bro. They're not having that
I
conversation.
don't think that most Africans are having a conversation. I think an elite group is having that conversation, but I can't speak to Black Americans.
That's not an elite group, bro. It's the regular people.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I don't know if
we cover these articles week in, week out.
So you tell me the average person in Africa is.
No, it's not about the average person. If you read the articles, if you follow us closely, you'll see that we're reading the articles for a reason, because most niggas ain't gonna read in America.
See, my whole question would be, and I'll have to look that up. I'll find out. I want to see if there are Black people that are in this country, Black business people, Black tech guys that are engaging in blockchain. If they are
now.
Cannabis.
They are now. But these are people who have already started driving the process. I'm saying, if you're not driving the process here, you're already getting left behind, man. That's all we've been saying.
Argue with that. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that.
And Ray was saying that that's not true. Because we, the military and this and that. That's fine that everybody wants to join the military. We don't have any problem with that. What we have a problem with is if you're talking about competing on a global scale, because the markets are global. You can't just focus on one neighborhood or something like that. The markets are global.
No, that's true, and I think that's what I was trying to say is that Black Americans have been too focused on just being successful in the certain kind of fields that their grandparents told them, hey, get a job as an accountant, go to law school, go to medical school, not looking at the global picture. So I do agree with that we haven't been global and that we've been concentrating too much on one area of human activity, which is the least productive area, sex and entertainment. I agree with that part.
Right. And so when we say that Black Americans in comparison to Africans, based on the information that we have surmised and based on the interactions that Complex has had with the continent, myself, many other Black Brain Trust contributors, bro, that's all we can go off of. Now you come here, not saying you King Sigma, but the people who disagree with us come here, and then they say, no, we disagree because they don't have running water and they only invest 3% of their GDP into education, right? Okay, so let's look at how is this working for ADOS then, or how's this working for Black Americans? I get crickets.
See, I wouldn't give you crickets on that one because like I said, it depends on if you're looking at Black Americans, the whole group, if you're looking at them by socioeconomic class, it depends. Because you ask one person, I know a lot of white collar Black people that are in the trades. I know some that are working as doctors and attorneys. So they say they feel like everything's great.
King Sigma, not King Sigma. Dr. Phoenix just went over the numbers this weekend for nursing. The numbers are decreasing, they're not increasing.
That's true.
Right? So in all the areas that's going to be necessary for fourth industrialization, Blacks are nowhere near that, man. And in America, they're nowhere in the race.
And see, I think that it depends, because this is what I'm trying to get at, is that I've already made the thought in my mind that it's going to be broken down by like 1/3 of Blacks. And you got to look at them more from that perspective, because I do think that honestly, the vast majority of Blacks, I don't think that they really care about competing. And I think that you have to more concentrate on the 1/3 that does have their eyes on the prize. That's where I guess I see it different. I feel like for most Black Americans in this country, they are in that position that you're referring to, where they continue to make the mall investment in the wrong things. And I see it here on YouTube, because again, I want to debate these kind of conversations. Because whenever I have a discussion with someone that may have some information that's different than me, oh, you could believe I'm gonna go look it up later and then come back with more information to throw into the pot. So I wish that there was more people having these discussions so I could have more people giving me information so I could gain more. But
well, the only issue with that, King Sigma, and let me just state this. Look, bro, it ain't nothing personal. I ain't got no problems with you, but you got to understand something, man. If we were to go from business wealth power to Black Brain Trust to where we're currently at today in 2020, man, we've been putting in a gang of fucking work, right? The goddamn format has not changed since 2017. Everything that we cover has a fucking article, okay? There's a reference point, and we make relevance to it with other articles, and right, and we cover this stuff on a consistent basis. See, so you got to understand, man, on our position, we find it a little bit disingenuous when somebody comes and wants to argue points, and we're like, okay, we've been covering this particular subject for like the last 5 months. Like, so, I would understand if you came in maybe 4 months ago with that argument, but we've kind of got to the point now where we've reached other developments here. So we kind of coming in late in the game with that. And this is all we're saying, man.
Complex. What I want to say is, man, you're dead on the money, but sometimes you got to bring people up to speed a little bit because not everyone's following this.
Yeah, but the thing is,
not everyone's following this, and they're gonna come in heated, shooting off, and they're gonna have to.
Well, then,
you're gonna have to refer them back because
all good. Like what I'm saying, then what I don't want to hear is I don't want to hear shit about me being condescending or me being an asshole or something like that. Like, you want to tee off, nigga, we'll tee off, dude.
I don't care if you be an asshole and condescending. I can match you on that, so I don't have a problem with that.
Well, it's not really about matching me about being condescending or being an asshole. It's literally about getting the information correct. That's really what's important.
I didn't come to debate this topic because here's the thing. I was in the chat and Mike called me up here because he didn't like something I said in the chat. Because I didn't pick this topic to debate you guys on. If I was going to have a conversation, I would have had it on the China versus America because that's something I've been prepping for. So keep that in mind. I didn't come up here like, I'm gonna jump on your panel and try to disrupt it. Mike,
no. I invited King Sigma because
this wasn't my topic. This was between you and Ray Alexander.
Well, no one's talking about you with that regard. I'm just speaking in general. Like, I didn't call you out or anything. That's not what I'm talking about.
I don't go to debates unprepared, brother. I will promise you that I wouldn't even do that to anyone that that wants to listen to the conversation. So this was something that Mike, hey, I want you to come on the panel because I didn't like something that you said about literacy or whatever. That was it. So
no, that's not what I said. What I was saying was you were co-signing Ray. The thing is, Ray, like Engineering Cannabis was saying, he did not have any facts. He was just making
co-signing with the literacy part and the poverty part because that was true.
No, it was not. The people in the chat contradicted him. They provided links.
No. If you look at the post that I posted, all I did was post in response to him was the literacy rates of the 54 nations and the poverty rate of the entire continent. That's all I was saying. That was true.
No. Ray was trying to actually argue what the country that Engineering Cannabis actually comes from is like. Yeah. And it was like, dude, okay, we're beyond disingenuous at this point.
Now that part right there,
we really are.
And he said that, and Complex just bring up the point where he said they had no running water and everything else like that. And
I mean,
Engineering Cannabis jumped out of his freaking.
Yeah, he was just like, what the fuck? Are you serious?
But hold on. See, that's not what when Mike was talking to me. That's not what I was referring to. I was referring to literacy.
Co-signing. You can't co-sign him, King Sigma. I don't mean to cut you off. You can't co-sign him, and he's not providing any facts, man. He wasn't providing any facts. He was coming off the cuff.
But wait, and you arguing against somebody about their country, and that the person you are he's from that country.
And the person Engineering Cannabis was providing facts. Ray didn't have that. Ray was making it as he went on, and when we asked him for a source, he could not provide a source. And when you came on and said, "Yeah, Ray was right," that's why people jumped on your throat, man.
Man, I live for this shit, bro. I don't have a problem.
That's.
But like I said,
hey, listen, and I'm going to say this too. Ray Alexander, I know him from Obsidian Channel. We had a lot of debates with him. Good dude. I just think he was making a point. Also, I think he came in here a bit in his feelings about y'all are down in ADOS, Black Americans over Africans.
Right, and it had nothing to do. It had nothing to do with fourth industrialization. Nothing. It was just
exactly, and that's what was the piece, and that's what I think was driving a lot of the emotionality behind some of this earlier. And I just sat back, I listened. I didn't say a whole lot. I just sat back and
he took the Great Faulkner initiative and tried to use it against us. That's not,
what'd you say, Mike? I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't hear you. Say that again.
He took the Great Faulkner initiative and tried to use it against us. We don't rock like that, man.
The Great Faulkner initiative. Where the hell is that coming from?
Well, no, when he was talking about like what the plan.
Leveraging the military and all this other stuff, man. That's a Great Faulkner initiative.
That's what Cerulean and Charles Faulkner came up with.
Yeah, that's their stuff. He didn't provide any substance to his argument. He didn't provide any of it. All of it was emotional and very condescending when he called Engineering Cannabis Mr. Nigeria. I mean,
okay, man.
Yeah, that's the sort
I mean, people getting their feelings a little. People get in their feelings a little bit. I understand it. I understand how that happens. And I'm just saying, you know, I know Ray Alexander, he's not a fucked up guy. I'll just leave it like that. And people gotta look at it, and that's it. So
we have to see. We read an article last night about the CEO of Twitter says, I'm going to go to the continent and live there for 6 months because I believe there's something valuable here. Okay, from a technology perspective, I believe there's something valuable there. This is a person who does not speak very often. You don't make comments like that unless you actually are 100% sure. He's not the only Silicon Valley CEO to go over there. Elon Musk has been there. Mark Zuckerberg has been there. They all are saying the same thing. There's some valuable talent over here as well as opportunity. But yet when we got guys coming on the panel, coming at us, they say, no, Africa's in poverty. What?
Can't read. They can't read. Only 3% of the people can read.
Yeah, literacy rate. What language is talking about?
That's definitely not what I was saying.
No, I'm not saying you.
My stats was no, that's not my stats. I know you're not talking about. I'm just letting you know, like, that's not
saying you. I'm just saying people who are listening to this think that, you know, we're just blowing smoke at a hashtag, and I'm like, nah, man, we got facts, man.
You'll know when I'm ready, because when it comes to that whole China thing, I'm definitely looking forward to that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, we're to be honest with you, we're kind of way past that, man. We're already
we on the precipice of World War III, perhaps, bro.
We're way past that, man. We're way past that. I mean, we've been
wait, hold on, Mike. I don't mean to cut you off, bro. I need you to go back to last Wednesday and peep the Bitcoin call that we made.
We've been right almost 90.
I need you to fuck with that just for a minute. I need you to go back to last Wednesday, peep that live stream.
I'll take your word.
Okay. So just so
you, King Sigma, it's actually for people who are listening.
Oh, I thought, 'cause I'm like,
I'm putting it out there. I'm just like, yo, if you really think like it's a game, like go check that shit out and then go look at what happened with Bitcoin today.
No, I believe you. I'm not undermining your credibility. I'm not doing any of that, bro. I'm not saying that you are wrong. I believe you.
No, what we were saying was when we make predictions on the Black Brain Trust, we're almost 99.99% accurate on our predictions. So we know where the market is going because we're paying attention to it, regardless of who wants to look at chart analysis and all of that. We have been looking at this stuff for, since the inception, and we've made our predictions that have kind of doubled down on them. And when we called AMD stock, AMD was moving at less than $12 a share. Today it's moving at damn near $50 a share. Told everybody to get up on it. Back when it was less than 20.
Yeah, I heard that Bitcoin and things like that went up today. So after the attack,
we called that 7 days ago.
So I hope that you guys made a killing, and if you did, I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you.
Well,
you won't get no argument from me on these things, man. In fact,
no, I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying the people who are trying to debate us have not done their research at all. They just don't like what we're saying because it's us saying it.
I wish more people would listen to these kind of topics. I'm telling you, man, this is the kind of stuff that interests me, but I just find that it's hard to, get a variety of conversations on these kind of topics for whatever reason, man. Most people on here, they don't care. They just don't.
Hey, King Sigmund, can I ask you a question real quick, brother? And I'm not trying to like put you on the spot or whatever. If you have the answer, you do. If you don't, I mean, it's all good. It's whatever. Mm-hmm. But, I want to go too back and far into the discussion, but I remember you were saying, if I'm not mistaken, that, ADOS, we're better off than those on the continent of Africa, based on the fact that we are actually here in America.
Living standard, yes.
Yeah, a living standard, and I understand that. And with that being said, and that makes sense, like on the surface, right? I get that. Okay. But with that being said, you say that you believe that we're going to make the pivot, right? ADOS will make the pivot toward the fourth industrial revolution. And my question for you to that, or for us to participate in it, right? And my question for you is, how are we going to make the pivot? Because when you look at the grand scale of the typical discussion that happens in our community, like you've all said, whether it's the manosphere, whether we're talking about ADOS, FBA, white supremacy, or whatever, the conversation is just non-existent. And you say you have it on your channel. I know I have it on my channel, but how does it happen? How's the pivot going to take place?
It's not non-existent. What I was saying is that when you look at the four classes using the disintegration model of the transcendent elites, the middle class, biracials and immigrants, and then the abandoned poor, I'm referring to the top I'm referring to the middle class and the transcendent elites. They'll make the pivot. They're making the pivot.
Oh, okay. So you're not talking about Black society in America as a whole. You're talking about kind of like the top 10. Oh, okay, got you.
I was even very specific. That's why I was saying that you have a lot of people that were pushed into like the white collar fields over the last 40 years. And what I'm seeing now is those people see like, oh my God, this industrial age, the pivot has happened. We got to get our children in this STEM. We got to send them to computer camps. We got to get them not so focused on sports and entertainment. So I was referring to the middle class Blacks and transcendent elites. I mean, I honestly, I've said it before, bro. I think that the majority of Black Americans, this shit, they don't care. I'm just being honest with you, man.
Correct.
Really care.
And I'll co-sign that with you. Unfortunately, that's the case, you know.
So, I mean, you know, I think that you guys are doing your thing and I'm going to keep coming back. You guys provide great information. I'm going to keep coming back, man, because this is one of the few spots where I can get new information. So I'm going to just keep coming back. It ain't nothing personal. I love it.
Yeah, we don't got no issues with you, man.
Complex over here about to have a heart attack tonight, man.
Complex is just passionate, man, because you know, Complex, behind the scenes, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes of the Black Brain Trust that the rest of you all are not privy to because you're not a part of the circle like that. And when he does what he does with the rest of the members, and there's other people trying to argue that this isn't happening, he's actually doing it, that's you know, that would set any of us off. Because
well, I'll give an example. Okay. I'll give an example. Okay, so my whole training was in business law and history. I'm teaching myself WordPress. I never read a WordPress book, but I bought myself a website this week after Mr. Research said, buy yourself a website and figure this shit out. I didn't make no excuses. I don't know anything about building websites, but I went on fucking Amazon, bought myself a WordPress for dummies, and in 3 months, I'll build my first website myself, 3 or 4 months. So what I'm saying is that I think there's a lot of other people like me out there that were trained in the white collar fields and that we see this change coming. And I think they're going to start making that pivot, but I'm not speaking to the people that, you know, that are most represented on YouTube. Most of them not going to make that pivot. And I know it because I guarantee that this stream might get like 1,500 views, but then the bullshit will get like 10,000, 20,000 views. So I'm not in disagreement with you guys. And I'm teaching myself WordPress. I don't have any experience with WordPress, but I just said, okay, I told Mr. Reese, I'm gonna learn this shit. So I'm teaching myself WordPress. And that's what I was saying is that because Black Americans have the education they have, it may not be exactly what's needed for the fourth industrial age, but a lot of Blacks got that basic liberal arts kind of way of thinking that they can actually learn something new if they just refocus their attention on it for a year or 2 years. I think a good percentage of Blacks can make that transition, and they're gonna have to, because a lot of their jobs are being outdated by artificial intelligence. I know a lot of people that are in the accounting field that are telling me now that TurboTax is coming up with their own automated AI that can get rid of their jobs. So people are making that adjustment. I'm learning WordPress and I don't know anything about WordPress. I won't even lie. I didn't know anything about, you know, hosting and all that, but I had to learn. I got a website, I got it hosted, and I'm gonna learn how to build this shit myself. And more Black people are gonna have to make that move, period.
We totally agree with that. We pushing that, and we're on the same page without question with respect to that there, King Sigma. Absolutely.
Nah, we got 5 thumbs down, man. I mean, a lot of cats is in their fifis, man, and it's like I said before, man.
And Mike, it got a little hot up. It got a little
bring
hot
them
up.
out. Bring them out.
Bring them
Dr.
out.
Bring them out. Bring them out.
It got a little hot up.
Dr. Phoenix is waiting backstage.
Oh, he is. Let me bring my brother on.
Doctors in the hells.
We'll let him close out, man.
Where they at, though?
Where they at, though? Where they at, though?
I love me some Complex.
Well, I'm surprised I got up late.
Dr. Phoenix.
I got class in the morning. But no, you know, I'm somewhere in the middle of this argument, but I do want to say this because when King Sigma came on about a week or so ago, and he talked about the report from Deloitte, and specifically he mentioned in the report, it was specifically mentioned talking about nursing. I just did over a 3-hour hangout with Mike just this past Saturday. And we went through the numbers in real time. Now, I didn't even see these numbers up until the point in which we had done the stream, that we went to the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, and you can see practically over a 10-year period how the numbers for Black applicants in BSN programs dropped dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did they drop dramatically, every other group increased dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And this was real time. So I didn't even see these numbers, but you know that I think that live stream only at max we maybe had about maybe 30 or 40 some viewers. I mean, this is in real time. Now, this is one of these fields, one of these industries that has been pointed out to be a major growth area, certainly over the next 10 years, and certainly I would argue at least over the next 2 decades. And that entire stream, I went through how you can become a geneticist, how you can get into STEM, specifically in the biosciences area, the biomedical, biotech industries. Over 3 damn hours of me going through it. I mean, I even showed you how you can get scholarships, every damn thing. One of the lowest, one of the lower view counts for their videos, for their live streams.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea that, you know, somehow I think it's impossible if we know that all these other nations are going into Africa to do whatever it is that they want to do in relation to their own plans of how they're going to engage in some form of, I would consider, you know, not just really an investment in of themselves and their government and their people, but really sort of nation building to an extent, because that's what's really happening. you know, we're going to have some feet on the ground. We're gonna have to have some influence in that on the continent. Period. No matter what we do, no matter how much we say that, you know, I still do agree that yes, financially, Black people best bets are going to be here in the U.S. because again, but we have to also be committed to establishing a base, an economic base, and it's going to have to be established here in the U.S. So I completely agree with King Sigma, even Ray on that point. You know, and it's kind of ironic, Ray, given what Ray does for a living. And I do plan to cover that in a discussion with Mike at some point. And actually, King Sigma, you and I had planned to talk about that as well, given what Ray does.
We've had a couple of discussions on, like, you know, the engineering field and things of that nature. So this is not something that's really foreign to me in regards to Black Americans and these kind of fields. I've been talking about it. I've only had my channel up since June. And every time I try to do at least 50% of my conversations related to this kind of thing. But again, I've learned from doing that unfortunately, man, I'm just serious, man. Most Blacks, at least that come to this space, they don't care.
I agree with you. No, the nigga shit gets tens of thousands of views. I mean, you can put on a live stream where dudes calling each other every name in the book, you know, calling dudes buttermilk, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that was funny. Buttermilk. Yeah, that. I hadn't even ever heard that one before. But, you know,
were they talking about like a mixed person?
Oh, they were talking about that.
Man, I think Edward got called buttermilk.
It
was calling him buttermilk. Damn,
it was a boomer calling Edward Anderson a buttermilk because he's light.
Buttermilk because he's light.
It was a who?
A light skinned brother. I never heard no one say.
I never heard that name. So light skinned brother being called
brother buttermilk. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Buttermilk. I hadn't heard that.
No, but I say that to say, I mean, like, yeah, stuff like that gets, you know, thousands, tens of thousands of views. But I mean, you know, you and I have certainly talked about it, King Sigma, and certainly Mike and I probably for the last 2 months, on Saturdays, we've done a variety of health talks. I mean, everything from telemedicine, did one on maternal fetal health. I mean, everything. I mean, I've been preaching this since I've been coming on the panels. And again, you know, when there's talk about brothers getting into these fields, I mean, just hell, when I did the one on nursing, you know how much pushback I got? Folks calling me an elitist, saying brothers can't do this. You know, no offense to the brothers that were saying that, but I'm just saying, you know, this is the kind of pushback I get.
Hold on. Stop.
Yeah, I think I'm offended, actually.
Hold on a second. You're saying people said that black men can't do this? What are you talking about? That this can't be done?
It wasn't that black men can't do it, that, you know, just a fundamental respect for that, you know, brothers start out in certain places. And while I agree with that notion as a whole, my goal was I'm about the end game. I don't give a damn about how you got started. I only care about how you finish.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, how you get started has importance, has relevance, but finishing is.
Hey, Nagone, this is why we push the importance of having a 250, 300, 500 year plan.
Yo, absolutely, and we know countries that certainly have had that. People who have
We
had
know
it.
companies that got it as well as countries.
Absolutely.
And this is the whole thing. That's why when we start talking very short-sighted here, I'm like, no. I mean, we've been talking in terms of like epochs, centuries.
Man, I just did a whole stream on cultural capital, and that's really what this whole thing boils down
Yeah,
to.
and that was what you and I were talking about yesterday, King Sigma.
Yeah, I just did a whole panel on it, and that's what I was telling them is that this is not foreign to me, bro. I was trying to explain to people looking at the top 20 people in Silicon Valley startups, going through this with Black folks, explaining to them how it starts at the family level, looking at the different startup founders' parents. I come to find that across the board, through the top 50, all of their parents were some kind of computer engineer, lawyer, accountant.
But that's not the reality today, and that's the position that we're pushing. Given the sheer amount of tools, the sheer amount of technology that's readily available, okay, at this particular stage, that's not a factor anymore.
What's not a factor?
No, that both of your parents have to be Silicon Valley engineers or something in order for you to be bequeathed with the goddamn ability to code.
No, not as a conditional, but as an environment for educating children on what's coming and getting them into the fields they need to get into. That shit comes from good parenting and good direction. Trust me.
Well, and again, this is the reason why we've largely said, look, we think for a fourth industrial age, the proper education for our children going forward is a Montessori education. So we've even addressed it from early childhood development. We covered all aspects over here because it's the end game is to culturally shift into a tech-oriented group of people. Okay, that means that it takes self-impetus on our part to do whatever it is that we're going to do to adopt to the technology and then raise our kids up properly in it. That's what it requires. And I'm not disparaging you here, King Sigma. But once again, when I can refer back to a hangout from about 7-8 months ago, actually episode 111, I want to say. It's either 111 or 181. Either one of those. Check both of them out, regardless. But even back then, we were making relevance to why it's important to today in the overall macro picture. So I'm not pushing back on you. I'm not arguing against you. But again, we've been hammering this goddamn narrative, and then we get like not a pushback, but we get this discussion here like as if these things haven't been taken into consideration. Then we say, hey, look, there's about 400 plus live streams, man. Dig in.
Yeah, no, I and King Sigma is exactly correct with what he said in the comparison he made with the parents of the top folks in Silicon Valley. Again, this is a question of nature versus nurture. And if you're coming from a family where your parents are medical professionals, your father's a dentist, your mom's a psychiatrist, whatever the case may be. And I literally had anyone that was privy to that panel. I was on a panel where a brother literally told me Black males can do damn garage sales to raise capital to start business. I mean, this is the kind of silly talk that's out here. But this, part of my language here. But this nigga shit gets a ton of fucking views.
I hate to laugh at that, but that's just the truth.
The buffoonery remains at an all-time high.
Yeah, it's that's just the truth, man.
I just don't think they understand the importance of like mating and things of that nature, and that's what I was trying to get at with the cultural capital piece. Is that it's only going to be like if these things continue down the road going, that people are going to look back and they're going to really be feeling really bad for themselves, because at the end of the day, that mating part is way bigger than I thought, because I've never actually did an investigation into like the origins of all of those that control Silicon Valley.
And that was kind of what when I did the talk about maternal fetal health, and and I spoke about Black women should be getting with men who can afford to let them not work while they're pregnant, because that is a critical period of development. We don't even consider it as part of a child's development, but it is. That period in which they are in the womb is a critical period of development for their child, and that doesn't get factored in. People don't think about that when you're considering who are you choosing to be with. You know, whether these are unplanned or planned pregnancies, specifically unplanned, and you know, and how all of these things eventually add up to where you have Black children that are growing up in environments where they don't have that cultural capital. I mean, your parents are barely educated beyond 8th grade, even high school for that matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
And
saw that. I saw
wondering why we have these, and to what Ray was saying, you know, I saw that I went to that link that SKC put up in that chat yesterday, and I read through that. The data was pretty damn conclusive. I mean, this is from the Department of Education. So there's only one way they're getting this data. This data is coming obviously from these various school districts across the country, and a lot of this is coming from standardized tests. And you know, even if you go look at the math scores now, the reading comprehension, yeah, we can always say that, you know, there's always going to be that gray area because it's reading comprehension, but math is universal. So if you got children, you know, that can't do basic algebra, we have a goddamn problem.
So then that proves the point, Dr. Fingers, that we have been making since the beginning of the live stream, since we've been doing these live streams and the inceptions of this channel. Black Americans are not ready for the industrialization.
There has to be a fundamental investment in, and not just, you know, let's just remove the millennials and the zillennials from this equation.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a fundamental investment in the babies, in the really young.
Right.
And if that's not happening, if you've seen that, I mean, that video that Ty City put up a couple weeks ago of his son at 1 year old, that did some pretty amazing stuff. But again, that's what happens when there's a fundamental investment in the child and having planned pregnancy, not these oops babies.
I don't really think that a lot of them just really understand the kind of damage, you know what I'm saying? Like, they consider it cool. They don't understand the damage that they're doing to these young people, you know? And I think that's where it's kind of a deep thing for me, because I can see how deep the damage is. Like when you're talking about, you know, as the woman goes through those trimesters, in that last trimester, that child is absorbing everything in the environment at that point. And all you're doing is poisoning the child. And then you talk to these people and you try to tell them this stuff, and it's like, it's a joke. We have a culture where a person that reads and a person that tries to improve themselves mentally is called, I mean, I don't even like the word, but there's a word they create called educated lame. What kind of culture can survive that creates a term for its brightest minds and its most inquisitive class, educated lame? See, this is the shit that really bothers me, man. It really bothers me.
I agree with you. I mean, since I've been coming in this space, like since I've been coming in this space since the summer, I mean, these terms, I mean, it's really some asinine, backwards, recalcitrant, regressive type behavior. Yeah. I'll just say this much.
Man,
Part of it is not even just the child absorbs what's happening while they are in the womb in that last trimester. But one of the major issues too, especially for women, for young Black women under 20, is just nutrition. Being at a healthy weight during pregnancy, so that you're not having a spontaneous abortion, or you're not having stillbirths, or you're having babies being born with cleft palates or cleft lips, or spina bifida, excuse me. So I mean, we're dealing with even basic nutrition during pregnancy is an issue, as well as the fact that they're being exposed to a traumatic environment before they even come out the womb.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And just, you know, I didn't understand how bad it was until I actually came on YouTube, because in the real world, this ain't my inner circle. So I'm not seeing it like that in my actual world. But being here on YouTube has really woke my eyes up, man, to really what's going on across this country right now in terms of the Black majority. And it's not good, man. But everyone thinks it's a joke, I guess, until the YouTube checks run out and everyone's walking around looking stupid. So they're going to ride this until the wheels fall off. But I'm gonna go ahead and jump off.
Yes.
You know, thanks for having me up, even though I wasn't planning on coming up. You know, it's all good. Like I always walk away from these kind of conversations with an opportunity to learn something. You know, I'll definitely look into like what's going on with the fourth industrial age in Africa compared to, you know, other things that I've heard about Africa. But you guys have a good night. And next time, because I definitely do appreciate the stuff on China though, because I did need to look deep into that China stuff, and it's very interesting reading about that country. So you guys have a good night.
Have a good one, brother.
All right, peace, brother.
Yeah, you know.
Go ahead, Dr. Phoenix, finish your point.
Yeah, now you know, I know it's late, but I did just want to bring this up because I did hear part of what Ray was saying, and while there is some validity, I agree with what he said about the military. I 100% agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I also think that brothers need to be smart about the military. This just can't be this one size fits all plan and program to get you to move up the socioeconomic ladder. I 100% agree that, you know, military should be a viable option for Black men, but Black men need to learn how to start doing the military right. Because as I've said on previous panels before, you know, if I can do it all over again, I would have just stayed my ass in undergrad the first time around, became an officer, you know, went to medical school and did whatever I wanted to do. But, you know, but obviously that didn't happen for me. So when I see younger brothers in there considering military service, I push them to either do ROTC at the very least. Don't be jumping into the military enlisted unless you can get a guaranteed career like in intelligence or tech or something like that, or even in the medical field. If you can't get nothing outside of that, you don't have no business doing the military. Period. You know, and so I think it's very important that when you have these discussions that, you know, it just can't be this, well, you know, ADOS. And look, I don't do the whole ADOS talk because again, it's really a misnomer. But at the same time, you know, there is something that needs to be said about whether or not are we truly performing at levels comparative to other groups of people in this country. And the hard truth is no. And we know where this is happening, where this is beginning at.
Mm-hmm.
So we know where the genesis of this problem is at. The problem is that, you know, what you all do here at the Black Brain Trust, at least certainly what I've talked about, I am more of the person who's looking at sort of the end state. And I do refer back to that first 40 minutes of that live stream where we talked about nursing, and we went through the data strips directly from the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, where it showed you can literally see in real time over a 10-year period, Black folks' numbers have dramatically increased in these undergraduate programs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And while everybody else has grown massively,
mm-hmm.
and specifically, you got folks that you got at least half their population ain't even citizens, but yet they have such massive growth at the undergraduate level.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll leave it at that.
No, thank you for coming up, man. I know it's late for you because it's late for me, and I'm surprised you're still up, man. Especially school.
Nah, I was actually sleeping. I just I fell asleep and my computer was on. I just kind of heard you all going back and forth, but I did just want to get on and say that because, you know, again, you know, I definitely respect what Ray. Oh yeah. As to Ray, I thought he was a troll earlier, so my comment about the troll, my apologies, brother. You know, so I didn't realize it was him initially that had sent the email. So I do apologize in that regard. But I just think that even given what he does, I mean, I'm gonna go through the numbers, and you thought the numbers for the nursing was shocking. What's actually the numbers for his particular area, for his particular industry he in.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anyhow, again, appreciate it, brother. So I know you guys got to get to sleep because I need to as well. So,
all right, shalom, man.